Chapter 889. The great wisdom Bodhisattva smiled and said, "The daughter of the blade demon? Ah, I didn't expect that. If Master didn't recognize you, who would know that you are the daughter of the strongest person in the world 10,000 years ago? Since you are still alive, the blade demon must have passed down his legacy to you. Hand it over. This is the 500 Arhat formation. You can't struggle. You still want to resist?" The great wisdom Bodhisattva sneered. At the center of the 500 Arhat formation, the emperor's eyes were cold as he looked at the great wisdom Bodhisattva with hatred. Brr. The emperor roared, but he wasn't willing to submit. The great wisdom Bodhisattva's face darkened as his eyes turned colder. My master has gone to the White Bone Mountain. When he returns, let's see how long you can last. Who is your master? Suddenly, a shout came from behind the great wisdom Bodhisattva. The three monks and Kasayas immediately turned their heads. Yin Chuan? It's you? The great wisdom Bodhisattva's face changed. Following which, the great wisdom Bodhisattva's panicked expression was replaced by excitement. Ah, Yin Chuan, this isn't your great Jin Empire. You can't use the Golden Dragon's providence. I didn't look for you, but you sent yourself to me? The great wisdom Bodhisattva laughed. As he spoke, the great wisdom Bodhisattva pounced towards Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan looked on coldly as his expression changed slightly. Bai Ditian, who was at the side, made his move. A white light flashed, and Bai Ditian returned to his original position as if he hadn't moved at all. As for the great wisdom Bodhisattva, he smashed into the ground like a stone. Boom. A huge pit appeared on the ground. The other two monks and Kasayas. The 500 Arhats. The emperor. The great wisdom Bodhisattva crawled out of the pit in fear. He was in a sorry state as he looked at Yin Chuan in shock. You how? The two monks and Kasayas looked as if they were facing a great enemy. The two monks each took out a circular artifact and looked at Yin Chuan and company warily. Oh. The white light appeared again. Pa. The two monks wearing Kasayas immediately smashed towards the great wisdom Bodhisattva at an extremely fast speed. Boom. Boom. The crater once again doubled in size. Bai Ditian did not stop as he struck the 500 Arhat formation with his palm. Hong. In the valley, it was as if a shockwave had been smashed out, and the surrounding mountains were instantly flattened by this huge force. Poof. The 500 Arhats were blasted away, and they all coughed up blood and collapsed in the ruins. After Bai Ditian finished fighting, he returned to Yin Chuan's side. However, Yin Chuan reached out and waved his hand, pulling the emperor over. Clang. The emperor was incomparably weak. He propped himself up with his broadsword and looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. Thank you. The emperor took a deep breath and said solemnly. Although it was Bai Ditian who had helped, the emperor knew who he should thank. The emperor did not have any relationship with Bai Ditian. It must have been Yin Chuan who asked him to help. Why were you trapped by this group of rascals? Also, don't you have a divine ability? Yin Chuan asked curiously. The emperor felt slightly bitter as he shook his head and said, Unfortunately, I was ambushed by Relic Buddha. Yin Chuan asked curiously. I came here this time to look for Jing Ming and ask about what happened back then, but on the way I met Relic Buddha. 7,000 years ago I met him once. At that time he was only at the Qi state. At that time he admired the undying sacred land very much and tried to curry favor with me. I didn't expect him to be so sinister. He said that he knew the cause of my father's death, so I believed him. What poison were you poisoned with? Yin Chuan asked. Blood-crisping fruit poison. The emperor said solemnly. Blood-crisping fruit poison? Fortunately, it's still within my detoxification range. Don't move. Yin Chuan said. As he spoke, a black vine suddenly emerged from Yin Chuan's sleeve and stretched towards the emperor's forehead. The emperor instinctively dodged, but when he saw Yin Chuan's gaze, he immediately took a deep breath and stopped moving. The black vine touched the emperor's forehead, and immediately, a stream of black gas was extracted from the emperor's forehead. The poison is really gone. The emperor's face unconsciously revealed a trace of excitement. Keeping the long vine, Yin Chuan smiled and said, It's not easy to see your smile. After all, Yin Chuan had never seen the emperor smile before. This was the first time. Hearing Yin Chuan's words, the emperor's face turned serious, and his original smile disappeared. Seeing the emperor's serious expression in the blink of an eye, Yin Chuan smiled bitterly. Thank you. The emperor said solemnly. All right, this is nothing. We still have things to do, so I'll leave this to you. Yin Chuan said. All right. The emperor was a man of few words. All right. Are you looking for Jingming? On the 9th day of the 9th month, there will be a huge change in the Great Zhao sacred ground, and Jingming will definitely appear. At that time you will be able to see her. Yin Chuan smiled. After speaking, Yin Chuan led Mo Yushi and Bai Ditian away again. Swish. The three of them flew far away in the blink of an eye. The emperor looked at Yin Chuan's back, and the corners of his mouth curled up again. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. After Yin Chuan left, the group of monks who had been severely injured by Bai Ditian immediately fled towards the west. The emperor turned his head and his face turned cold. The long saber in his hand slashed towards the west. Boom. A vast saber aura descended from the sky, and the 10 monks at the front were instantly sliced in half. Blood splattered everywhere, and a 100-foot-long trench was left on the ground. The saber aura swept across, and all the monks' expressions changed. The saber aura had sealed off the escape route of hundreds of monks. How could they escape now? The monks looked at the emperor in fear. The emperor turned his head and looked coldly at the great wisdom bodhisattva. Saber demon's inheritance? How did you know? The emperor asked coldly. I don't know. I guessed it. The great wisdom bodhisattva immediately replied in fear. Obviously, the emperor wasn't satisfied with the answer. The emperor swung his saber. Thousands of sabers rained down from the sky. Boom. Ah. No. Save me. With a single saber, the 500 arhats were all sliced in half. The scene was horrifying. The great wisdom bodhisattva and the other 2 bodhisattvas looked at the emperor in shock. Previously, when the emperor was poisoned, the 3 of them didn't think that the emperor was scary. But now? Killing 500 arhats with a single saber? Speak, the emperor said coldly. I'll fight it out with you. Zenith Buddha Palm. A bodhisattva roared. Ching. A green light flashed and the struggling bodhisattva was sliced in half. Blood splattered on the faces of the great wisdom bodhisattva and the other bodhisattva. The 2 bodhisattvas shuddered. The great wisdom bodhisattva opened his mouth to speak. No, great wisdom bodhisattva, you can't speak, the other bodhisattva shouted. Ching. The bodhisattva's head instantly rolled to the great wisdom bodhisattva's feet. I'll speak, the great wisdom bodhisattva shouted. Chapter 890. Atlas Studios White Bone Mountain. The mountain stretched for thousands of kilometers. Corpses and bones rolled and Yin energy soared to the sky. Not only was there Yin energy, but there was also a lot of filthy energy. Most cultivators were not willing to get close to this place to cultivate. This was because the filthy energy here had polluted even the primal energy of the world. If one cultivated with the filthy energy here, their bodies would rot and fill with pustules. The various large sects all distanced themselves from White Bone Mountain. However, at this moment, tens of thousands of cultivators surrounded White Bone Mountain. Countless cultivators stared at the center of White Bone Mountain, a valley of bones. 2 figures, one seated and one standing, stood in the center of the valley. The seated figure was the snake monarch. At this moment, blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth as he rapidly healed his injuries. The standing figure, however, was King Gaio. King Gaio no longer looked majestic. At this moment, most of his black robes were torn, revealing most of his white bones. Furthermore, many cracks had appeared on his white bones. The light in his eyes had dimmed significantly. King Gaio raised one hand to the sky. Surrounding the 2 was a huge barrier made of countless bones. Outside the barrier, golden light shone everywhere. Blue light pressed down. Beams of golden light shot in through the gaps in the bones, striking King Gaio's chest. However, King Gaio could not stop them. He allowed the golden light and blue light to strike his body. Roar! King Gaio roared sullenly at the sky. Ka, 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 ka. The surrounding bone barrier pushed outwards. However, many cracks appeared on the countless bones. This emperor is not resigned to this. This emperor is not resigned to this. King Gaio roared at the sky. He felt exceptionally sorrowful. After arriving in this world, King Gaio thought that he was invincible and could challenge the capital. However, a mere projection severely injured him. It was one thing to be severely injured. However, many cultivators in this world took advantage of the situation to pursue him. Although King Gaio killed many of the people pursuing him, his injuries were too severe. Many cracks appeared on his white bones. He did not have any time to rest. Now he was trapped here? Doing his best to support the bone barrier, King Gaio looked at the sky and lamented. Was he going to die here? Close to 10,000 cultivators stood on the surrounding mountains. Among them there were dozens of Middle Void Realm experts. Previously, King Gaio could not be bothered to kill these people. However, these people now, with the formation of 2 Upper Void Realm cultivators, they gathered their strength, suppressing King Gaio. Roar! King Gaio felt incredibly sorrowful. The nearly 10,000 Shioja were led by 2 groups. It was a bald monk wearing a kasaya. His entire body radiated golden light and he held an alms bowl in his hand. Although the bald monk had a benevolent look on his face, he didn't hold back at all. The other one wore a blue Taoist robe and held a long sword in his hand. He slashed out rays of blue light towards the bone cage. Divine Sect's Sacred Ground, Rin Shin Hall's Hallmaster? 10,000 Buddha's Holy Ground, Relic Buddha? Roar, I have no enmity with all of you. Why did you set up a formation to kill me? King Guai said sullenly. Amateus Buddha, King Gaio, Great Calamity Heavenly Dynasty? We are very clear about the power of the Great Nightmare Heaven Empire. If we let you go today, you will definitely cause us endless trouble in the future. King Gaio, who asked you to provoke Jingming? You can't blame anyone. Your destiny is already exhausted. Stop struggling. The alms bowl in Relic Buddha's hand emitted an even brighter golden light. The tens of thousands of cultivators around did not stop moving their hands. Their strength followed the golden light released by the alms bowl and gathered towards King Guai. The other Rinshin Palace Master also smiled and said, King Gaio, as long as you acknowledge me as your master, I can spare your life. Scoundrels. If I had not been injured by Jingming, I could crush all of you with one hand. Scoundrels. King Gaio roared. Chapter 891. The Rin God Temple Lord's face sank. How did you know? The surrounding cultivators looked over. King of Gai. Relic Buddha? The Rin God Temple Lord shook her head slightly, and a pair of huge rat ears popped out from her head. A rat's body also popped out from her mouth. Rat demon? This was the first time everyone knew that the Rin God Temple Lord was actually a rat demon? Rin God Temple Lord Rin Rat? I always thought this name was weird. So, you are really a rat. King of Gai was speechless. The surrounding cultivators were also speechless as they looked at Rin Rat. It seemed like King of Gai was right, he was indeed a rat. Rin Rat stroked his beard, and his eyes narrowed as he looked at King of Gai. Acknowledge me as your master, and I can save you. Relic Buddha frowned. Rin Rat, this ghost cannot be released. Relic Buddha, why not take him in instead of killing him? You and I will use our own methods. Whoever subdues King of Gai, he will belong to them. How about it? Rin Rat stroked his beard and said. Relic Buddha frowned. Relic Buddha originally wanted to kill King of Gai, but now he wanted to subdue him? King of Gai is arrogant and unruly. It is impossible to subdue him. Relic Buddha immediately shouted. Impossible? That is because you do not have the ability to subdue him. Rin Rat stroked his beard and said. Relic Buddha's expression was complicated. Are you kidding? How could he subdue him? Subduing him required him to be subdued. If he could not subdue him, what was the use of subduing him? Rin Rat squinted his eyes again and looked at King of Gai. King of Gai, as long as you agree, I will save you. Agree? Ha 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 ha. King of Gai laughed loudly. Rin Rat's face suddenly turned serious. King of Gai, from today onwards, you will submit to me, Rin Rat. Are you willing? As soon as Ninth Rat finished speaking, the surrounding void suddenly shook, as if a contract had been formed out of thin air. However, this contract could not be seen clearly, nor could it be touched. When King of Gai heard Rin Rat's words, the fire in his eyes flickered. Earth Branch Leader Token? How do you know this ability? King of Gai suddenly exclaimed. King of Gai, from today onwards you will submit to me. Are you willing? Rat's face once again sternly. What's going on? Even in the immortal world, it's hard to find an expert like Jing Ting. Even in the immortal world, it's hard to find such a terrifying divine ability. How is it possible that this world has it as well? King of Gai exclaimed. King Gaio, from today onwards submit to me, Rin Shu. Are you willing? Rin Shu shouted again. Scoundrel, you want me, King Gai, to submit to you? Don't even think about it. King of Gai shouted coldly. Rin Rat's face sank. Humph, since you don't want to submit, then die. This is the Great Demon Extermination Formation, specially prepared for you. As long as either Relic Buddha or I use it, you'll definitely die. Let's see how long you can last. Kaka. Even if I die, I will not submit to a scoundrel like you. King of Gai roared. Boom. Boom. Although the bone cage was resisting, it was still unable to resist the demon extinguishing array of the experts. The bone cage continued to wear down. Even so, there were still large amounts of shockwaves that rushed towards King Gaiyu. Once the bone cage was broken, King Gai would definitely be killed. The pride of an emperor would not allow King of Gai to submit. King of Gai struggled bitterly. At this moment, King of Gaiyu was already filled with regret. Why did he come here to challenge the number one person? It was not King of Gaiyu's thoughts, but all the experts from the various factions in the world had the same thoughts. This King of Gaiyu must have lost his mind to challenge Jing Ting. Chapter 892. Swish. Just as the demon extermination array was suppressing King Gaitu, 3 streams of light suddenly shot over from afar. And everyone looked over in confusion. Huff. On the peak of a mountain, Yan Chuan Mo Yushi and Bai Ditian suddenly appeared. Who are you? Do you want to kill King Gaitu too? Just follow us and pour your energy into the demon extermination array. An expert immediately shouted at Yan Chuan and the other two. And? It's you, Yan Chuan? Relic Buddha's expression changed. Yan Chuan. Everyone was shocked. Obviously, everyone had heard of Yan Chuan, but only a few had seen Yan Chuan's portrait. Yan Chuan. Ren Rat squinted his eyes. Yan Chuan ignored everyone and looked into the valley. King Gaitu, the ruler of a celestial empire, had fallen to such a state? Snake Emperor. Yan Chuan suddenly shouted. When Yan Chuan shouted, the Snake Emperor, who was sitting cross-legged in the barrier, opened his eyes slightly. There was a trace of coldness in the Snake Emperor's eyes, as well as a trace of doubt. Zombie poison. Give me the origin poison and I will save you. Yan Chuan said. And? Everyone's expression changed. Origin poison? I will save you? Yan Chuan wanted to make an enemy out of everyone here? How dare you, Yan Chuan? You want to make an enemy out of all the sects? A cultivator immediately shouted. Yan Chuan, you want to make an enemy out of our celestial sects? A subordinate beside Ren Rat immediately shouted. Yan Chuan, think carefully. If you dare to help King Gaitu, you will be making an enemy out of our 10,000 Buddha celestial grounds. Relic Buddha said coldly. Although they didn't know if Yan Chuan had the ability to do so, they didn't want to complicate things when they were about to kill King Gaitu. The Snake Emperor looked at Yan Chuan in disbelief. Cough, cough, cough. What? A few months ago he was still fighting with Yan Chuan to the death. There is no enmity between us, is there? Yan Chuan smiled. The Serpent Emperor revealed a look of bewilderment as he looked at King of Gai. Your Majesty, the Snake Emperor called out. In the eyes of the King of Gaia's skeleton, there was a glint of confusion. In the end, King of Gaia nodded at the Snake Emperor. The Snake Emperor did not ask any more superfluous questions. A beam of green light suddenly shot out of the bone cage and shot straight at Yan Chuan. Umph. A monk immediately pounced over, wanting to snatch the green light. Bai Ditian took a step forward. Pa. Bai Ditian had already returned. Boom. As for the monk that was about to fight over it, he was immediately sent crashing into the ground like a cannonball. Hua. The surrounding experts were in an uproar. Relic Buddha looked coldly at Yan Chuan. Ren Rat, I'll leave King of Gaia to you. I'll deal with these 3 people. Relic Buddha said in a low voice. Ren Rat narrowed his eyes and nodded. All right. Relic Buddha immediately flew over, followed by 5 bald monks. All of them looked coldly at Yan Chuan. Bai Ditian passed the item he received to Yan Chuan. It was a small blue bottle. Yan Chuan took a closer look. That's right. This is the source of the zombie poison. Yan Chuan said with a smile. Yan Chuan, I've already given you the item. Fulfill your promise. The Snake Emperor called out coldly. Of course. Yan Chuan smiled. How dare you? Relic Buddha suddenly shouted and stood in front of Yan Chuan. We haven't gone to find you, but you came here yourself. Yan Chuan, don't even think about leaving this time. Relic Buddha said coldly. Umph. Bai Ditian snorted and was about to step forward. Wait. Emoyushi suddenly shouted. Emoyushi suddenly took out a soybean. Looking at the soybean, everyone was puzzled. Ren Rat, who was far away, had a glint in his eyes. There was even a trace of fear in his eyes. Chapter 893. Soybeans? Seeing Emoyushi take out soybeans, Relic Buddha and the surrounding cultivators were all confused. This is? Yan Chuan asked curiously. I don't know either. Yuan Tiangang gave it to me. It's called the Soybeans Armored Soldier. Try it. Emoyushi smiled. Emoyushi could see clearly that Yan Chuan was going to make an enemy out of everyone. Make an enemy out of dozens of sections. Bai Ditian might be able to save King Gaiyo, but Yan Chuan would definitely become enemies with the sects. When King Gaio came back for revenge, these people would definitely shift their hatred onto Yan Chuan. That was why Mo Yushi took a step forward. She was going to leave. Let her carry this group of people's hatred with her. Yan Chuan quickly saw through Mo Yushi's plan. As for making an enemy out of the sects, Yan Chuan had already thought of the consequences. Moreover, saving King Gaio had a great purpose. Make an enemy out of dozens of sects? Great Zhen was about to become an imperial dynasty. So what if he had to make an enemy out of the sects? However, this was Mo Yushi's intention. Yan Chuan did not stop her. He stepped forward, and a large number of white bones were kicked away, revealing the soil of the mountain. You are? Great Zhao Holy Ground Dao Lord Yushi? Relic Buddha asked. Mo Yushi smiled and said, Relic Buddha, you have a good eye. So what if she's Dao Lord Yushi? King Gaio offended Jing Ming. If we kill him, Jing Ming will not blame us. Dao Lord Yushi, it's better that you don't interfere. If we fight and accidentally hurt you, that would be bad. Relic Buddha said coldly. Behind Relic Buddha, the 5 monks each took out a round wheel. All of them looked coldly at Yan Chuan. Mo Yushi ignored him and gently stuffed the soybeans into the soil. Countless cultivators in the surroundings looked confused. Planting soybeans? Dao Monarch Yushi was joking, right? Planting beans at this time? Only the 9th rat's eyes narrowed, and it became even more terrified. Squeak squeak, it can't be, right? 9th rat muttered to itself. Dao Monarch Mo Yushi, please step aside. Otherwise you'll injure. Holding the alms bowl in his hand, Relic Buddha said coldly. However, he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. At the place where the soybeans were planted, a tender sprout suddenly emerged. The sprout grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a vine. On the vine a soybean grew. The soybean grew bigger and bigger. Gradually it reached the size of one zhang. This is? Relic Buddha was slightly taken aback. 10 feet of soybeans? Ka. All of a sudden, the 10 feet wide soybean split open from the middle, and a pair of strange hands reached out from within. A strange cry came from the inside, and then the 3-meter-long soybean exploded with a loud bang. Under a large amount of smoke and dust, the soybean and the vine from before withered and shattered. In front of Mo Yushi, a 10 feet tall yellow figure suddenly appeared. The figure was thin and had long limbs. It bowed like a praying mantis. However, it had a head that was shaped like a soybean. It was a strange-looking monster. Master, please give the order. The monster said respectfully to Mo Yushi. Relic Buddha? Mo Yushi. Yan Chuan. By D. Tian. Nearly 10,000 cultivators. Did a monster really grow out of the soybeans? In the distance, the 9th rat looked even more terrified. Squeak squeak, are my eyes playing tricks on me? This can't be, right? The 9th rat muttered to itself. Chapter 894. Relic Buddha had a strange expression on his face. Then his eyes turned cold as he said, Dao Monarch Yushi, I don't care what this monster is. However, Yan Chuan must stay. Even if you are Dao Monarch Dazhao, it is useless. Myriad Buddha alms bowl. Relic Buddha tossed the alms bowl into the sky. Instantly, a golden light flashed and shot towards the mountain peak where Yan Chuan was. Wong. The surrounding space seemed to have solidified. Everyone inside was frozen. Apart from the 3 of us, beat everyone else to death. Before the golden light reached them, Mo Yushi quickly gave the order. Within the golden light, Mo Yushi seemed to be unable to move. However, the monster did not seem to be affected. It suddenly turned its head and looked at Relic Buddha with its bean-sized head. Under my space-locking Buddha light, no one can move, no one can come out. Yan Chuan, I will release your soul from purgatory. Relic Buddha laughed excitedly. The monster suddenly pounced. It was as if it was not affected at all. How can this be? Relic Buddha cried out in shock. Under the spatial lock Buddhist light, even upper void realm cultivators would be imprisoned. How could this monster not be affected at all? In the distance, Renrat's eyes were filled with fear. Plague Dharma armor soldier? A puppet that is immune to all spells under the immortal realm? Really? Renrat was not the only one panicking. Relic Buddha flipped his hand and sent a huge palm strike towards the monster. The surrounding 5 monks also sent out their own Buddhist seals. The palm strike was extremely powerful. It was as if a huge mountain was pressing down. Whoosh! The monster directly passed through the palm strike as if it was just a ray of light. Swish! The monster instantly appeared beneath the Relic Buddha's body. Its two hands suddenly grabbed the relic Buddha's legs. This? Relic Buddha's expression changed greatly. However, it was too late. The monster moved extremely quickly. It swung relic Buddha like a stick towards a nearby monk. A bald monk against a bald monk. Dang. The stick knocked the monk deep into the ground. Duh. The monster shouted excitedly. Ah, master. Another monk cried out in shock. Pa. One of the monk's legs was also grabbed by the monster. Immediately the monster had two sticks. Duh. The monster swung its two sticks wildly. In an instant he charged into the crowd. Rumble. The monster's speed was extremely fast, and its strength was extremely strong. Every time it struck, one person would be sent flying or hit into the ground. One by one, the Shioja's heads were broken and bleeding from the collisions. Dang. A series of swords and sabers collided with the monster's body. The monster had a head of copper and arms of iron, and only the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Duh. The monster roared angrily and charged towards the Shioja who were waving their swords at it. Who? When the stick struck down, a practitioner put up a chi aura shield in fear. However, the stick seemed to be immune to the chi aura shield. It directly collided with the practitioner's head, as if there was no chi aura shield at all. Clang. Head to head, the cultivator was dizzy. As for relic Buddha, his head was full of sarcomas and his face was bruised and swollen. For a moment, the relic Buddha was on the verge of collapse. How could this be? Rumble. Head to head, the relic Buddha couldn't use its magic power at all. It was used as a weapon and kept hitting the Shioja in all directions. The monster's speed was extremely fast, so fast that it made people collapse. The group of Shioja couldn't even escape in front of the monster. As long as they were targeted by the monster, it could appear in front of them in an instant. Upper Void Realm? So what if it was Upper Void Realm? In the hands of the monster, wasn't it just a wooden club? Duh. Dang. The monster's cry echoed with the sound of head hitting head. Help. What was terrifying was its speed. Even some of the Shioja who had just flown into the sky to escape were hit back by this stick in an instant. Rumble. The monster was invulnerable and immune to all spells. Its speed was extremely fast and its strength was huge. In an instant, it was like 10,000 enemies crazily chasing after countless Shioja. Yan Xuan reached out and grabbed the myriad Buddha alms bowl. As he looked at this artifact, he also looked at the Shioja in the distance who were thrown into the air by the monster. Die. The monster was wreaking havoc. Rumble. With a loud sound, the great demon extermination array was broken. Rumble. King of Gai's head was also hit. King of Gai and Snake Emperor were also looking at the monster wreaking havoc in all directions. Those two don't fight. She pointed at King of Gai and Snake Emperor. The monster immediately obeyed. It no longer targeted those two. King of Gai rubbed his head that was hit and looked at Yan Xuan. Emperor of Great Jin, we will meet again. King of Gai said. Yan Xuan nodded. King of Gai pulled Snake Emperor and shot towards the south. He didn't want to stay for even a moment longer. This journey north could be said to be the biggest failure of his life. Why did you release King of Gai? Bai Ditian asked in a low voice. King of Gai conquering the Southern Divine Continent is better than having the Southern Divine Continent in the hands of Kong Mok and the Divine Sect Sacred Grounds. Furthermore, after this battle, King of Gai will definitely view the 1,000 Buddha Sacred Grounds and the Divine Sect Sacred Grounds as enemies. The enemy of my enemy might not be my friend, but I can make use of them. Help me restrain the two sacred grounds. Yan Xuan said with certainty. Bai Ditian nodded. While the monster was wreaking havoc at the place where Rinrat was originally standing, a huge hole appeared on the ground. The moment the monster exploded, Rinrat quickly dug into the ground and escaped. Behind him were 30 Shioja from the Divine Sect Sacred Grounds. Everyone dug into the rat hole and quickly escaped. Only when they were far away from the White Bone Mountain did they climb out of the ground. Hall Master, if we escape through the rat hole like this, won't we embarrass the Divine Sect Sacred Grounds? A disciple shouted. What do you know? Rinrat instantly shouted. So what if it's a rat hole? I'm a rat. So what if I'm a rat? If you have the ability, why don't you go back? Rinrat curled his lips. This disciple doesn't dare. That disciple immediately said. Rinrat nodded and patted that disciple's shoulder. Let Grandpa Rat give you a piece of advice. Even a rat is a lifetime's worth of experience. If you want to learn a little, you can go anywhere in the world. That disciple's face lit up. He immediately said gratefully, Yes, Hall Master, please tell me. This disciple will definitely remember it. Rinrat said meaningfully, no matter who you meet, if you want face, you will lose. If you want face, you will lose? That disciple opened his mouth in shock and stood there in a daze. No matter who you meet, if you want face, you will lose? Did I hear wrongly? That disciple was still in a daze. Rotten wood cannot be carved. Is this all you have? Sigh. Rinrat shook his head in disappointment. Chapter 895. On the White Bone Mountain. The armored bean soldier had shown its prowess. It was immune to all spells and its body was impenetrable. Its speed was terrifying. It could fight against 10,000 people at once. Even Bai Ditian was at a loss. Dao Lord Yushi, what are you doing? Bai Ditian asked curiously. I don't know either. Mo Yushi was also at a loss. When Yuan Tiangang gave it to her, Mo Yushi did not think much of it. It was just a small toy that Yuan Tiangang made casually. But now this little toy was too exaggerated, right? Could fight against 10,000 people at once. And it had an upper void realm cultivator in its hands? Relic Buddha was also extremely unlucky. He had a body full of dermic powers, but the other party was immune to all spells. And the other party was extremely strong. Relic Buddha's heart was already dead. The huge bumps on his head were getting denser and denser. He was an upper void realm cultivator, the strongest group of people in the world. But now, the last trace of resistance was completely wiped out. A drop of tears of despair streaked across Relic Buddha's eyes. Clang, 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 da, da. Their heads were dizzy from the bumps. The more they ran, the greater the impact. In an instant, a large number of people on the White Bone Mountain fell to the ground. Their heads were bleeding as they wailed. Perhaps this armored bean soldier is an immortal artifact? Bai Ditian murmured. It's a puppet-type immortal artifact. And it's very mysterious. Yin Chuan nodded. 10 hours later, clang. The last cultivator fell. The monster grabbed the Relic Buddha and another monk who had already fainted and jumped in front of Mo Yushi. Master, my energy is about to run out. Should I kill all these people? The monster asked respectfully. You're running out of energy? Mo Yushi was confused. Yes. The monster nodded. Mo Yushi was at a loss. There's no need to kill them. Mo Yushi shook her head. Yes, Master. The monster nodded. Master, the crisis has been averted. I have gathered the last of my energy and presented it to you, the monster said. Dropping the two monks in its hands, the monster suddenly crossed its arms and knelt in front of Mo Yushi. Ka 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 ka. The monster's body quickly cracked open and then shattered into pieces. A gentle breeze blew and scattered the shattered pieces. The monster disappeared, and 7 fist-sized purple immortal stones appeared in its shattered body. Immortal stone? Mo Yushi picked up the immortal stone and exclaimed. This puppet used immortal stones as its foundation? One-time use? Do you still have the remaining energy of the 7 immortal stones? The White Emperor asked emotionally. Mo Yushi nodded. Soybeans? How much energy was stored in this soybean? Yuan Tiangang? Yin Chuan frowned slightly and was a little curious. Meanwhile, the Saraira Buddha that was thrown at Yin Chuan's feet by the monster struggled to get up. Yin Chuan immediately noticed and smashed the myriad Buddha alms bowl in his hand. Clang. The Saraira Buddha suddenly fainted. Before it fainted, it was filled with despair and regret. He was an upper void realm cultivator, but he actually died here? It was too embarrassing. The soybeans shattered, leaving behind a ground full of injured people. Most of them had fainted, and a small number of them were wailing in pain. What should we do with these people? Bai Ditian looked at the crippled people in front of him and asked curiously. Yin Chuan looked and took a deep breath. Capture them all and send them to Frost City. Dezhen's East factory guards are there. Let them send these people to Dezhen's prison. Chapter 896. Imprison them all? Bai Ditian was slightly stunned. Yes. Yin Chuan nodded. Rumble. Countless vines suddenly emerged from the ground, wrapping around the injured and sending them to Yin Chuan. Seal their cultivation. Yin Chuan said to Bai Ditian. All right. Bai Ditian nodded. It was too easy for Bai Ditian to seal one's cultivation. Furthermore, when Bai Ditian took action, no one could break through his seal. Not even the Relic Buddha could break through it. While Bai Ditian was sealing, Mo Yushi handed the immortal stone to Yin Chuan. Give this to Miao as a snack. It's useless for me to keep it. Yin Chuan smiled and nodded. Whether it was ZZ or Mo Yushi, they doted on Miao too much. Not long after, the three of them swept up nearly 10,000 cultivators and left White Bone Mountain. One day later, White Bone Mountain. Whoosh. A strong wind blew past, and nearly 100 cultivators suddenly appeared in the sky above White Bone Mountain. All of them were riding dragon-headed horses. All of them were wearing golden robes and had powerful auras. The Dragon Horse King in the lead was twice the size of the other dragon horses. Its entire body was greenish-black, and it emitted a black aura. As it stepped on the ground, tens of thousands of horses submitted. Riding on the Dragon Horse King was a man in a golden dragon robe. The man had a square face and a cinnabar dot between his eyebrows. His eyes were filled with arrogance. A long saber hung from his waist, looking extremely domineering. The man in the lead looked around coldly. "Where are they?" the man in the lead asked in a low voice. Immediately, one of the 100 people dismounted and knelt down. Reporting to Emperor Emoku, "They are here. The relic Buddha asked me to quickly report to you," that person said respectfully. Emperor Emoku narrowed his eyes. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Another person dismounted and stepped forward. "Emperor Emoku, there are many traces of battle here. The relic Buddha might have encountered something else. Let's wait a little longer. He should be back soon." Emperor Emoku's eyes turned cold. "Relic Buddha? He can't do anything right. What right does he have to make me wait?" "Yes, I know my mistake." The first person immediately apologized. "I will continue to head north. You guys stay here and wait for Relic Buddha. Tell him to hurry up and come see me." Emperor Emoku said in a deep voice. "Yes." The person from before replied respectfully. "Go." Heavenly Son Emoku stomped his foot, and the Dragon Horse King let out a long neigh and quickly stepped into the air towards the north. The group of experts quickly followed, leaving only 2 people to wait quietly in the White Bone Mountain. A few days later, in a large hall outside the White Bone Mountain, Rinrat was listening to a disciple's report. "Gone? All gone? No news from the other sects? None of the 10,000 people managed to escape?" Rinrat's eyes shone brightly. "That's right, Palace Master. Should he inform the various sects? This matter definitely has something to do with Mo Yushi and Yen Xuan." A disciple immediately said, "Pass a message? Pass on my ass, idiot. What does it have to do with us if they're gone?" Rinrat cursed. The disciple was speechless. 5 months passed by quickly, and the 9th day of September arrived in the blink of an eye. Dark Phoenix Hall. Yen Xuan had been accompanying Mo Yushi all this time. Perhaps this was the last time in this world. Yen Xuan held Mo Yushi's hand and walked to the railing of the hall's plaza. "Hades Emperor, Dao Lord Yu just returned," Qinglong said. "Oh." Mo Yushi's expression changed. Dao Lord Yu's face was full of anger, and only one person returned. Qinglong said. "One person?" Yen Xuan and Mo Yushi looked at each other. Dao Lord Yu's trip to the Julu Academy didn't go well. Mo Yushi smiled. "I'll get Bai Ditian to help. Bai Ditian might be back soon. We'll just have to ask him then." Yen Xuan laughed. Meng Wenrua and Su Sanyang were finally together. As the two sighed, Bai Ditian turned into a stream of light and shot into the plaza. "Bai Ditian? How was the trip to the Julu Academy?" Yen Xuan asked. Meng Wenrua succeeded. Bai Ditian smiled. Dao Lord Yu went to fetch Su Sanyang. Unfortunately, Su Sanyang refused to go with him in the name of mourning. Bai Ditian said. And then? Although nothing happened between Meng Wenrua and Su Sanyang, Dao Lord Yu still found something strange and went to question Su Sanyang. She refused to say anything and refused to go with Dao Lord Yu. Dao Lord Yu was furious and said something that hurt Su Sanyang deeply. Everything was resolved. Bai Ditian smiled. What did he say? Dao Lord Yu said, "If I can't have you, no one else can." After saying that, Dao Lord Yu attacked Su Sanyang, and Meng Wenrua went to save her. The two of them died together and their affair broke out. You didn't see it, but it was a tear-jerking scene. At the critical moment, Jin Dayu and I took action and blocked Dao Lord Yu. Everything was settled. Bai Ditian said. Yen Xuan and Mo Yushi looked at each other. That's for the best. My last bit of guilt is gone. Dao Lord Yu said something like that, which means that he didn't love Su Sanyang at all. It was just a kind of possessiveness. Mo Yushi took a deep breath and sighed. Yen Xuan nodded. Bai Ditian, you just came back. You should rest first. Tomorrow Jingting will take Goddess Ji Chen's Dao seal. After tomorrow we will have too many things to do. Yen Xuan said solemnly. Okay. Bai Ditian nodded. by Di Tian went to rest. Mo Yushi hugged Yan Chuan and said coquettishly, I want to see the fireworks. After tomorrow Mo Yushi might leave. Yan Chuan naturally cherished this last night. Okay, I've already sent people to prepare it. Let's go. Yan Chuan nodded gently. In a valley in the Dazhao sacred ground, fireworks shot into the sky. Yan Chuan hugged Mo Yushi and looked at the beautiful scenery. Mo Yushi leaned in Yan Chuan's arms and looked at the fireworks. Then she looked at Yan Chuan affectionately. Finally, her eyes unconsciously looked at her lower abdomen. One hand was placed on her lower abdomen and gently stroked it. It was extremely gentle. Mo Yushi's eyes flashed with a kind light. She smiled blissfully. How are the fireworks? Yan Chuan asked gently. Mo Yushi immediately looked away and looked at the fireworks in front of her. Her eyes flashed with happiness. Yes, it's so beautiful. Mo Yushi praised. Then she leaned into Yan Chuan's arms. The fireworks shot into the sky. Although the scenery was beautiful, they were sending Mo Yushi off. Yan Chuan didn't feel good. Looking at the fireworks, Yan Chuan took a deep breath and said, Yushi, don't worry. I will come and find you. Furthermore, the next time I see you, even if Jingting doesn't allow it, I will take you away. Believe me, I will definitely support you. Mo Yushi smiled blissfully. I believe you. Chapter 897. September 9th. Dazhao Sacred Ground. Although Jing Ming did not announce it to the world, the heroes of the world had already felt that Dazhao was unusual. Even Dazhao's series of actions were unusual. September 9th, outside the Dark Phoenix Hall. Yan Chuan, Mo Yushi, by Di Tian and the Emperor who had just arrived stood quietly on an extremely spacious balcony. They stared at the Wu clan's grand hall on Great Bright Mountain. Yan Chuan held Mo Yushi's hand with a heavy heart. Emperor, did you know from the great wisdom Bodhisattva that you obtained the inheritance of the Blade Demon? Yan Chuan asked doubtfully. It was the Ice Phoenix Sovereign. My father's inheritance was given to me by Aunt Ming. The Ice Phoenix clan submitted to Aunt Ming. They should know something. Now they are colluding with the Thousand Buddha sacred ground. After this battle, I will slaughter the Ice Phoenix clan. The Emperor said coldly. Slaughter the Ice Phoenix? Mo Yushi frowned slightly. The Emperor looked at Mo Yushi and said, Phoenix is divided into many branches. The relationship between the Ice Phoenix and your Dark Phoenix is not good even in the immortal world. Back then the Ice Phoenix only submitted to Dark Phoenix. Mo Yushi nodded. They stopped arguing. Emperor, are you sure Jing Ming knows about your father's death? Yan Chuan looked at the Emperor and asked. The Emperor nodded and gritted his teeth. My father's death is irreconcilable. I must kill the enemy with my own hands. Wasn't the Blade Demon the strongest person in the world back then? At that time, who would be able to kill him? Yan Chuan asked doubtfully. I don't know. The Undying Sacred Ground was like the Dazhao Sacred Ground now. In the world, their words carried weight and all sects submitted to them. I can't think of anything. The Emperor shook his head bitterly. Yan Chuan nodded and did not ask any more questions. The Emperor clenched his fists. Today he must know the result. Great Zhou City? On a floating island. Yao Qianshang was dressed in a green robe. Together with Spider King and 20 subordinates, he stood at the peak of the floating island. He looked at the Wu clan's great bright mountain from afar, and his eyes became more and more serious. Yao Qianshang gently waved his hand and Spider King and the others stepped back. Yao Qianshang muttered to himself, Jingting wants to take Goddess Jichen's seal? Yao Qianshang's glabella flickered slightly before he spoke again. Not bad. The #1 expert of this generation is indeed extraordinarily courageous. However, don't worry. Our future might not be weaker than his. Yao Qianshang was talking to himself. His voice was very soft and only he could hear it. I've thought of many ways, but the demon race is unable to condense fate. This is determined by our fate. The demon nation that I established, although there are many demon race members, if we can't condense fate, what's the use of my demon nation? Yao Qianshang said with a complicated expression. Demons can't establish a country? When I was still alive, I had always been looking for an answer. Do you know why I died all those years ago? Yao Qianshang asked again. I sacrificed myself for a cause. Before I died, I found the answer. Moreover, I must have succeeded. Believing in me is the same as believing in yourself. The human race is only one of the 10,000 races, while the demon race comprises half of them. Once the demon nation is established, it will be unstoppable, Yao Qianshang said confidently. Alright, you are my previous life. Of course I will believe you. Just don't think about devouring my memories from this life. Yao Qianshang nodded. Don't worry. I won't. The current state that we are in now is something that I have planned for a long time. Not only will I not devour your memories from this life, but when the time is right, I will also transfer all the memories from my previous life to you. Chapter 898. Yes. Yao Qianshang nodded. Then Yao Qianshang stopped talking and continued to look in the direction of the Wu clan's main hall. In a valley at the edge of the great Zhou city. In the valley there were 100 people riding on dragon horses. All of them were extremely arrogant, and their eyes shone brightly. The one riding the dragon horse king was the Western Emperor Mo. Son of Heaven Mo narrowed his eyes and stared at the Wu clan's main hall in Great Bright Mountain. Reporting to Emperor Mo, there is still no news of the relic Buddha. A person beside him said respectfully. Emperor Mo's eyes turned cold as he turned his head to look. Under Emperor Mo's gaze, that person lowered his head in fear. Heavenly Son Mo pondered for a moment. Relic Buddha? Trash. From the looks of it, King Guai has already returned to the southern divine continent? The great Calamity Sky Dynasty's destiny cloud sea did not collapse. I think King Guai must have escaped back. The subordinate said respectfully. Heaven's Son Mo took a deep breath and said, This emperor has been planning for many years. Once the capital retreats, this emperor will sweep through the world. There are many calamities in the south. It looks like it won't be that easy to take down the south in a short time. King Gaiyu was severely injured by Jing Ming this time. This should have been a heaven-sent opportunity. It's a pity that Sarira Buddha failed in his task. He deserves to die. That subordinate immediately added. Tianzi Mo nodded. Your Majesty, our men have discovered Yao Qianshang and 20 other great demons in the great Zhou city. Another subordinate reported respectfully. Emperor Mo's eyes turned cold. Yao Qianshang? This person was quite daring. He had schemed in the northern divine continent for many years and gathered a large number of demons. Unfortunately, the demons were unable to establish their own country. Demon country? What a joke. Your Majesty, after today, will we? The subordinate asked doubtfully. Yao Qianshang? Once Jingting retreats, we'll capture Yao Qianshang. He's also a talent. It's fine if he submits to me, but if he doesn't, kill him. Emperor Mo said solemnly. Yes. Your Majesty, Dark Phoenix Hall has discovered traces of Yen Xuan. He was the one who ruined Your Majesty's plans in the East Divine Continent. Another subordinate reported. Yen Xuan? Kong Susu's bastard child? Kong Susu was my strongest competitor back then. Almost the emperor you speak of was Kong Susu. Emperor Mo sneered. We pledge our loyalty to His Majesty. Everyone quickly declared. It doesn't matter. Everything has been settled. Yen Xuan? Back then Kong Susu used her life to protect him. Who would have thought that she would leave behind such a scourge? Mo mumbled. The subordinates didn't say anything else. This involved the internal affairs of the Kong family, so no one had the right to interfere. Heavenly Son Mo once again stared at the Wu clan's main hall in the distance. Outside the Wu clan's main hall, nearly 10 million cultivators had gathered and were waiting respectfully for the doors of the grand hall to open. At the entrance of the main hall, Shangguan Wan'er Mohina Dojin, Dao Lord Yu, and the leaders of the 5 vassal sects were waiting respectfully. The square of the Wu clan's main hall was extremely solemn and serene. Shangguan Wan'er stood on the square and looked around. There was a cold glint in her eyes. Senior brother, did Shangguan Wan'er discover us? Grandmaster, is Shangguan Wan'er's eyes warning us? Shangguan Wan'er's gaze swept across the area. Great Zhou City, the surrounding mountains and many other places were in an uproar. This uproar included where Yao Qianshang and Emperor Mo were. Shangguan Wan'er's eyes instantly warned all the Upper Void Realm experts. Chapter 899. No matter how well you hid, Shangguan Wan'er would still find you instantly. Shangguan Wan'er has never shown herself before. So she is this powerful? King Spider said to Yao Qianshang in surprise. Yao Qianshang did not answer. Instead, he frowned slightly. Roar. Emperor Mo's dragon horse neighed. Everyone felt the threat in Shangguan Wan'er's gaze. Shut up. Emperor Mo pressed down on King Dragon Horse. Your Majesty, is Shangguan Wan'er warning everyone not to cause trouble at this time? A subordinate asked solemnly. Emperor Mo's face turned gloomy. He did not answer. Shangguan Wan'er looked around. She had achieved her goal. She turned to look at the Wu clan's main hall. Sacred Master, everything is ready. Yuan Tiangang has already gone to the great suppressing world steel. Shangguan said respectfully. Bang! The doors of the main hall suddenly opened. Everyone looked over and saw beams of golden light shooting out from the main hall. Jingming walked out step by step under the golden light. Greetings, Sacred Master. Nearly 10 million cultivators bowed respectfully to Jingming, who was wearing a dragon robe. Jingming walked out in a dragon robe and a flat imperial crown. With a wave of his wide sleeves, Jingming's eyes exuded a solemn and noble aura. Step by step, Jingming walked to the square. He waved his sleeves and looked around. Greetings, Sacred Master. Sacred Master, you will enjoy immortal blessings and live as long as the heavens. The cultivators said respectfully again. Standing in front of the Wu clan's main hall, Jingming looked around. An emperor's aura spread out. Countless cultivators were subdued by this emperor's aura. Rise. Jingming said calmly. Thank you, Sacred Master. The nearly 10 million cultivators said respectfully. The surroundings were solemn. At this moment, the cultivators within a million miles of the Great Bright Mountain did not dare to breathe. For a moment, the Great Bright Mountain was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. However, an accident still happened. Jingming. Suddenly, an abrupt voice sounded. Shangguan expression changed. The nearly 10 million cultivators in the Great Bright Sacred Ground also turned gloomy. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. It came from outside the Dark Phoenix Hall on Dark Phoenix Mountain. A trace of anxiety appeared on Shangguan face. She had previously threatened all the practitioners. The only place that wasn't a threat was Dark Phoenix Mountain. That was Moyushi's dojo. There shouldn't be any problems there. How could something happen at this time? The one who directly called out Jingming's name was the Emperor. At this moment, the Emperor's face was solemn. He didn't have the slightest bit of respect as he stared at Jingming. How dare you? Mao Ri Yu and the other experts immediately shouted in anger. Jingming looked over, but his expression changed slightly. He gently waved his hand and stopped all the actions of the Great Revelation Holy Land's experts. Emperor? The Emperor didn't back down at all and looked at Jingming coldly. Jingming also asked with interest, Is it you, lass? Girl? A trace of displeasure appeared on the Emperor's face. But she still asked, Jingming, how did my father die? How did this woman's father die? Countless cultivators in the surroundings were already at a loss. Was she here to mess things up? The death of the Blade Demon? You don't know? Jingming smiled. Then Jingming looked at Yan Chuan with deep meaning. Yan Chuan frowned slightly. Suddenly he thought of something and his expression changed slightly. I don't know. Please tell me. The Emperor lowered his head solemnly with difficulty. For the revenge of his father, the Emperor was willing to do anything. You should know, the Blade Demon should have already told you. Jingming said indifferently. Tell me? The Emperor's expression changed. The Emperor frowned deeply. His expression suddenly became ugly, but he still gritted his teeth and shook his head. No, I don't know, please tell me. The Emperor took a deep breath and suppressed his emotions at this moment. Jingming sighed slightly and said, The person who killed your father, Yan Zizai. Yan Zizai? Yan Chuan's ancestor. Sword Demon and Blade Demon were known as the twin demons. They were both the founders of the immortal Holy Land. Impossible, impossible, Sword Demon killed my father? This is impossible. The Emperor immediately exclaimed. Jingming looked at the Emperor and said indifferently, Did the Blade Demon really not warn you? The Emperor immediately took a step back and looked at Yan Chuan with a complicated expression. The Blade Demon set up a forbidden technique that allowed the Emperor to feel Yan Zizai's bloodline. Did he want the Emperor to avenge him? Kill all the descendants of the Yan clan? Did he also want the Emperor to kill Yan Chuan? Chapter 900. Atlas Studios. The Emperor could feel the Yan clan's bloodline. This was also the reason why Yan Chuan had found the Emperor for the first time. At first, no one thought much of it. However, at this moment this connection caused Huang Ku to be shocked. Yan Zizai killed his father? If that was the case, his father had used a secret technique to connect him to the Yan clan's bloodline. Didn't this mean that his father hated the Yan clan's bloodline to the core? His father wanted him to exterminate the Yan clan's bloodline? Avenge him? For a moment, the Emperor seemed to be unable to breathe as he stared at Jingming. Yan Zizai? Is it really Yan Zizai? The Emperor's eyes turned red. Jingming looked at the Emperor and said indifferently, I don't need to lie to you. Girl, although you targeted me in the past, I don't blame you. If you have any problems in the future, you can come to me anytime. Jing Ming was lying? There was no need. With Jing Ming's current status and strength, she didn't need to lie. Was it really Yan Zizai? Was he really going to kill Yan Chuan? He couldn't live under the same sky as his father. Xing. The emperor waved his long saber and pointed it at Yan Chuan. And? Bai Ditian's face darkened as he stepped forward. Mo Yushi also nervously stood in front of Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan pulled Mo Yushi away. Bai Ditian, move aside. Yan Chuan said. Bai Ditian frowned and nodded. He moved aside for Yan Chuan. The emperor's long saber was pointed at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan looked at the emperor solemnly. Countless cultivators stared at them. Even Jing Ming was watching with interest at this moment. Jing Ming already knew that Yan Chuan had super skills. Yan Zizai's descendant. The emperor? The daughter of the saber demon. Were these two going to fight to the death? The emperor looked at Yan Chuan. His eyes were red, but his expression was one of extreme pain. What? Why is it you? The emperor's voice was filled with pain. The breeze blew through the emperor's short hair, but the emperor's face was ferocious. Taking a deep breath, Yan Chuan shook his head and said, I did not kill your father. It was not Yan Chuan who killed him. Yan Chuan had never done anything. This was an indisputable fact. However, Yan Chuan was the descendant of Yan Zizai. Staring at Yan Chuan, a trace of hostility flashed in the emperor's eyes. But as soon as this hostility appeared, it was instantly extinguished by some unknown emotion. However, the evil chi that had just been annihilated appeared again, forming a gust of evil wind that blew past Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan's clothes fluttered, but Yan Chuan did not move at all. Father, how did I get here? You are the result of the love between me and your mother. Dad, your beard is hurting me. Dad will shave it off immediately. Little baby. Dad, I'm 3 years old. Last year I was a little baby, now I am a big baby. Good, a big baby. Then Dad, what did you say just now? What is love? Love is love. Just like how I love your mother loves me. Why does mother love you? There is no why. It is love. But I don't understand. You will understand in the future. No, I want to know now. Well, to love someone, you are willing to lose everything for him. I don't understand. Ha 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 ha. The emperor's eyes unconsciously moistened. Pointing his long sword at Yan Chuan, the emperor's whole body trembled. The hatred of killing my father is absolutely irreconcilable. I will kill you. I will destroy the Yan clan. The emperor said coldly to Yan Chuan. The emperor raised his head and screamed. Rumble. In an instant, thousands of sword chi appeared around the emperor. The sword chi pierced through the 9 heavens, bringing with it a biting cold. Chapter 901. Whoosh. The sovereign stepped into the sky, and thousands of saber auras surged toward the west. He left behind gusts of wind that blew in all directions. The surrounding cultivators were confused. Yan Chuan frowned slightly. He sighed deeply. Jing Ying was deep in thought, but she did not pay attention to it for long. The surrounding cultivators were still confused, but after the sovereign left, everyone's attention was focused on Jing Ying again. After all, Jing Ying was the main character today. Jing Ying looked up at the sky. Yuan Tiangang. Jing Ying suddenly shouted. When Jing Ying spoke, the void in front of her seemed to tremble. An image suddenly appeared in the trembling void. In the image, a white-robed man stood in front of a giant tablet. Holy Lord, everything is ready. We are just waiting for your order. Yuan Tiangang bowed respectfully. Jing Ying nodded. All sects in the world, heed my order. Jing Ying suddenly shouted coldly. The great manifest merit cloud suddenly trembled violently. At the same time, Jing Ying's voice seemed to radiate in all directions. For a moment, all the sect leaders in the world looked up in horror. Her voice was like thunder from the 9th heaven, deafening. Jing Ying's aura spread across the world along with her voice. Almost all the experts in the world suddenly felt a huge pressure. It was not only the great manifest merit cloud, but also the entire East Divine Continent and the 5 Divine Continents. The Archaean Sacred Ground. Meng Hongying looked up at the sky. This is Jing Ying's aura? Isn't she in the East Divine Continent? Meng Hongying exclaimed. The Archaean Sect. A group of white-haired elders looked up at the sky. Beside them stood the Heavenly Maiden. Jing Ying's voice? So powerful. The Heavenly Maiden muttered to herself. The 10,000 Buddhist Sacred Ground. A group of monks stood on a golden platform and looked up at the sky. Jing Ying's aura. How powerful is she? A monk said in a low voice. Julu Academy. At the Radiant World's entrance. Meng Lingtian, Dongfang Jingpai, Meng Rongrong, and the others stood at the entrance of the Radiant World and looked up at the sky. That woman is too powerful. Our Radiant World is trembling. Dongfang Jingpai said in a daze. Woman. Everyone? Meng Lingtian also looked strangely at Dongfang Jingpai. Under Jing Ming's command, all the experts in the world stopped what they were doing. Great Zhao is in charge of the affairs of heaven and earth. Myriad sects heed my command. Contribute half of your merit to the sect. Hurry up and contribute. I will only give you 2 hours. Jing Ting said in a deep voice. What? The entire world was in an uproar. With a single order, all the sects in the world that practice Yin virtue must hand over half of their merits? This was not just tyrannical, it was simply making an enemy of the entire world. Meng Hongying listened to Jingting's voice in astonishment. How could this be? However, something strange happened behind Meng Hongying. The Archaean sacred ground will offer half of our merit points. We hope that the sacred lord will succeed in seizing the heavens. A voice came from behind Meng Hongying. Grandpa's voice. Meng Hongying's expression changed. Hong Long Long. Behind Meng Hongying, a series of rumbles could be heard. In the direction of the God world, boundless yellow merit points soared into the sky and rushed towards the east at a terrifying speed. How is this possible? Meng Hongying exclaimed. Half of the merit points? That's half of the merit points of the Archaean sacred ground. Why did Grandpa agree so quickly? Chapter 902. The 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Ground. The 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Ground offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. The 10,000 Buddha's Sacred Ground shouted. Not only the 2 sacred grounds but all the sects in the world also shouted the same thing. Congealed Jade Palace offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. 10,000 Sacred Sect offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. Blue Lake Island offers half of our merit points. May the Sacred Lord succeed in seizing the heavens. Merit points quickly gathered from all over the world. With every stream of merit points, the sect leaders of the various sects could be heard congratulating the sacred ground. With a command, all sects shouted in unison. The sea of merit points grew bigger and bigger, covering the sky and sun. It was endless and still growing. The disciples of the sacred ground were extremely proud. This was the #1 sect in the world. On the other hand, the crowd of experts who had come to watch the ceremony was in awe. Yao Qianshang, Tianziamoku, and Bai Ditian all held their breaths and sighed. Yen Chuan also took a deep breath. Was this the dominance of the #1 person in the world? As more and more merit accumulated, the sky had already been dyed a golden color by the boundless merit. Boundless merit filled the surroundings. Jing Ting looked at the sky coldly. It was as if everything was natural. I know why my mother had an empire in the celestial world but established a sacred ground here. Mo Yushi's expression changed. Whether it is merit points or providence, my mother has a lot of them. After all, there are too few people in this world who cultivate providence, but merit points are endless. That's why my mother gave up on establishing an empire. Mo Yushi analyzed. That should be the case. Yin Chuan nodded. Boundless beneficence gathered. This continued until 2 hours later. Only then did the merit points slow down. Jing Ting looked at the endless merit points in the sky with dissatisfaction. She said coldly, "Who dares to disobey my orders?" An angry roar resounded through the world. Jing Ting reached out and slapped the sky. Boom! A golden torrent rushed into the sky. After rushing through the sea of providence clouds, the torrent instantly split into 306 parts and shot in all directions, disappearing in an instant. South of the sacred ground, on a sect's mountain. Sect leader, why do we have to contribute half of our merit points? This is the result of our generations of hard work. Yes, senior brother, the incense-burning sect beside us didn't contribute. Why do we have to be the spendthrift? Why doesn't burning incense sect contribute? We have to. While everyone was complaining about the sect leader, a deafening sound suddenly came from the west. Reporting, sect master, burning incense sect has been razed to the ground by an unknown force. Incense thousand sect thousand sacred thousand sect. The crowd of disciples. Sect master is wise. The group of disciples immediately changed their previous attitude, and said with lingering fear, "Great Zhao Holy Land." Half an incense stick later. Rumble. Heaven's sect. This is? Mo Yushi looked at the sky in surprise. There are 306 sects that didn't agree to Jingming's request and refused to contribute merit points, or they were all destroyed. Yan Chuan said in disbelief. Mo Yushi opened her mouth in shock. Not only Yan Chuan, but all around the Great Bright Mountain, almost all the experts of the outer sects stared blankly at the surging fortune. Everyone was aware of this possibility, but almost everyone didn't want to admit it. If that was really the case, then Jingming's strength was too terrifying. All the sects in the world could beat up whoever they wanted? Was he still human? Too domineering. Chapter 903. Yan Chuan's Arrangements de Zhen Dynasty. Imperial Palace. Lu Gang bowed respectfully to Zizi in the main hall. Miao jumped on Zizi's knees and gnawed on a spiritual stone. Reporting to the Empress, de Zhen's army has been deployed. The heroes of the Tiger Tribe, Huoguang Yi Feng, the new 3rd Army Commander Jin Deyu, and the 4th Army Commander Meng Wenrua have made all the necessary preparations. Yen capital is rather empty at the moment. Please listen to me and retreat for now. You can return after this battle. Lu Gang said solemnly. Zizi patted Miao's head and shook her head. There's no need. My husband has made all the arrangements. Even if the rebels in the city rise, I'm confident that I can escape unscathed. You'd better do your job well. De Zhen is showing weakness this time to uncover all the spies that the outer sects have planted in De Zhen. Lord Lu, your East Depot's task is not small. Lu Gang's expression turned solemn. Don't worry, Empress. A few days ago the East Depot received the prisoners sent by the Emperor, including the Western relic Buddha. I've already pried open the mouths of a large number of prisoners. I believe there won't be any mistakes. You can go now. Zizi nodded. Yes. Lu Gang left the main hall. After Lu Gang left, Miao suddenly shouted, Sister Zizi, what did Yan Chuan send you? Why are you so confident? Zizi smiled and took out a seed that had sprouted. Miao, what's this? Miao was puzzled. Vine demon. Let Miao take a look. Zizi smiled at the seed. Countless vines suddenly sprouted from the seed. In an instant Miao was tied up. Meow meow meow. Miao's hair stood on end. She was then tied up pitifully. Ah! Zizi laughed. The vines quickly retracted. Once again, it transformed into a seed that had sprouted. Meow. Miao looked at the harmless seed in horror. This is a vine demon, and its strength is equivalent to the 2nd level of the upper void stage. Even if it's not invincible, it's more than enough to protect itself. Moreover, with my birth chart, who would dare to harm me? Last time the upper void realm Kong Shenshui wanted to attack me. Although he was killed by Jing Ting, it can also be seen as me killing him. Zizi smiled. But didn't Lu Gang say that there is an upper void stage overlord in Yanjin who is even more powerful than Kong Shenshui? Miao. Miao was worried. That person? As early as half a month ago, I had already noticed a trace of hostility from that person towards me. At that time, I had already started making preparations. Upper emptiness realm? Not necessarily great. At that time he might not even be able to make a move. Zizi said confidently. Miao? Miao asked curiously. Have you forgotten about the Nailhead 7 Arrows book? Zizi smiled. Miao. Miao also showed a naughty smile. In Yen Marquis's mansion in Yanjin, Yen Qiuyu and a black-robed man were listening to their subordinate's report. After the report, the subordinate quickly left. Huoguang led the army out of Great Shen's border, and Yi Feng also led the army out of Great Shen. This time they brought almost 80% of Great Shen's army. Now, there are only a few guards in the major cities. The black-robed man said in a deep voice. Great Shen is currently empty. Even in Yanjin, more than half of the fierce generals have left the army. Yen Qiuyu nodded. Yan Chuan is too ambitious, haha. The black-robed man sneered. Is it not good to be ambitious? Yen Qiuyu sneered. Chapter 904. Good, of course. Haha, De Zhen is much easier to control, especially Yen capital. Many of the officials are old officials of the former Yen state. They used to be your officials. Yen Qiuyu, when Huoguang and the others start the battle with the outer sects, it will be the time for you to take back everything. The black-robed man said confidently. Yen Qiuyu nodded and said, My cultivation has been raised to the lower void stage by your secret technique, But I'm still worried about Yan Chuan. Worried? What's there to worry about? You're in charge of controlling Dezhen. We'll deal with Yan Chuan and the others. The black-robed man smiled. Yan Chuyu's eyes flashed with anticipation. Although Yan Chuyu had abdicated back then, her heart as an emperor had never been erased. You continue to contact your old officials. I'll take my leave first. The black-robed man smiled. Yan Chuyu nodded. The black-robed man left the main hall and quickly walked to another main hall. A group of black-robed men surrounded the main hall. A white-robed monk was lying on a large bed in the middle. Cough, cough, cough. The white-robed monk coughed. His face was extremely thin. Master, how are you? The black-robed man asked worriedly. The white-robed monk's face was pale and he coughed up blood. Master, you're an upper void stage expert. How can you be sick just like that? The black-robed man was still puzzled. The white-robed monk said bitterly, I might have been hit by a demonic technique. Demonic technique? My soul is becoming more and more scattered. I must have been hit by a demonic technique. However, I don't know which demon king I have offended. Quickly look around. If there are any greater demons passing by, help me find them. Otherwise my life will be over. The white-robed monk said bitterly. Yes. Everyone was confused. In a valley. Close to 10,000 cultivators sat cross-legged in a large tent in the middle of the valley. Yi Feng, the commander of Dezhen's second army, sat cross-legged in the tent. He was meditating with his eyes closed. There was a jade table in front of him. On the jade table there was a long sword and a small bottle. The long sword emitted a gentle white light. It was Yan Chuan's god sword. As for the small bottle, it was the zombie origin poison obtained from the Snake Emperor. Sir. A shout came from outside the tent. Come in. Yi Feng called out. Soon, Zhu Jiansheng, the great swordsman, the second swordsman, and Yi Feng's trusted subordinates all entered. Sir, the rout has been ascertained. When does it start? Zhu Jiansheng asked excitedly. Yi Feng looked at everyone and said, It's not the right time yet. Also, have you all mastered the method of controlling zombies that His Majesty passed down? Once it's activated, I have the Emperor's Sword of God so I can sit back and relax. The zombies you are facing don't have eyes. Sir, don't worry. This is a matter of life and death. No one dares to be lazy. The great swordsman immediately shouted. Yes. Wait a little longer. Yi Feng nodded. In a forest. Hua Guang, the commander of Dezhen's first army, stood on the head of a ferocious tiger and looked into the distance. Behind Hua Guang, millions of soldiers lined up in a square formation, ready to set off. Hua Guang held a long spear in one hand and carried Yan Chuan's Jade Emperor's sword on his back. Master, when are we going to make a move? I can't wait. Tan Lang shouted excitedly. Hua Guang looked at Tan Lang and smiled with satisfaction. It's not the right time yet. Wait, don't ruin His Majesty's plans. Yes. Tan Lang nodded. Let the soldiers hide and rest. The 5th Battalion is responsible for scouting the surroundings. Hua Guang ordered. Yes. Tan Lang immediately replied. Dezhao territory on top of a city tower. Meng Wenrua waved her white feather fan and looked at the city. Beside her stood a few scribes. Are there any problems? Meng Wenrua asked. Senior brother, don't worry. There are no problems. All the strong disciples of Dezhao have gone to the Dezhao sacred ground. At this moment all the cities are empty. We have already made many arrangements. Once the Dezhao sacred ground is destroyed, these cities will immediately change their surname to Dezhen. The scribe smiled. Meng Wenrua nodded and said with a trace of pity, There are too many cities in the Dezhao sacred ground. We can't swallow them all at once. Senior brother, it's not small anymore. As long as Lord Hua connects the 2 middle-tier sects, our Great Zhen will be connected to this place. If we succeed in swallowing them, our Great Zhen's territory will immediately expand to become the largest in the East Divine Continent. The scholar said with certainty. Meng Wenrua took a deep breath and nodded with a smile. Yes, I was too greedy. Even if there are so many cities, it will take a long time to digest them all. At the foot of a volcano, there was also a large number of soldiers gathered. At the mouth of the volcano, Jin Dayu absorbed an endless amount of earth fire and continued to refine his giant bell that was the gate to heaven. The huge bell rang and the surging lava in the surroundings came to a sudden stop. Jin Dayu opened his mouth and swallowed the giant bell before flying out of the volcano. My lord, everything is ready. However, we don't have many people and it will be difficult to control this large territory. A general came forward and said worriedly. Jin Dayu glanced at him and said, Control? This place is too far from Dezhen. It is impossible to control it. I did not come here to control this area. This is a vassal sect of Dezhao. It is too far away from Dezhen. However, once the Dezhao sacred ground is over, this sect will have endless merit. My goal is the same as Yifeng's. It is enough to destroy the sect and seize the merit. As for you? Jin Deyu looked at the crowd. My lord, what do we do? The crowd asked in confusion. After the sect is destroyed, there will be countless Dharma treasures and spirit stones. You will be responsible for transporting them. Jin Deyu said indifferently. Yes. The soldiers nodded in confusion. Dezhao sacred ground. Yan Chuan held Mo Yushi's hand and looked at the domineering capital in the distance. With a command, all the sects in the world offered up their merit. Although he was shocked, Yan Chuan was more excited. How much of this merit would flow into Dezhen? The investiture of the gods was made up of the investiture of the gods in Tiansu. Could convert merit into fate. If everything was as he thought, Dezhen would soon be promoted to imperial dynasty. The sea of merit covered the sky and the earth. Golden light shone on the land. A trace of satisfaction flashed in the capital's eyes. He turned to look at the wrinkled void. Yuan Tiangang, I am going to start. Arrange the stars in the sky and use the great suppressing boundary steel to invade this world. The capital said solemnly. In the image, Yuan Tiangang nodded respectfully. He waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, and a stream of light rushed into the sky. Chapter 905. Atlas Studios Yuan Tiangang swung his horsetail whisk towards the sky, and a stream of light shot into the sky. As the stream of light shot into the sky, it split into 108 forks and shot towards 108 directions in the sky. 108 beams of light shot into the sky, and 108 stars suddenly appeared in the sky in broad daylight. Yan Chuan stood on the dark Phoenix Mountain, and his eyes narrowed. Heavenly Dipper 36 stars and Earthly Fiend 72 stars? Connecting to the power of 108 stars at the same time? Among the immortals, he is considered an extremely strong expert. However, it doesn't seem that easy to mobilize the power of 108 stars at the same time. Yan Chuan said solemnly. Bai Ditian nodded as well. In the image, Yuan Tiangong's horsetail whisk seemed to have turned into energy as he slapped it on the great world-suppressing monument. Whoosh! The horsetail whisk turned into a layer of light that enveloped the great world-suppressing monument and connected to the 108 stars at the same time. Yuan Tiangang formed a hand seal and immediately shouted, Lord D, 10,000 troops attract the power of the stars. A loud roar suddenly came from heaven and earth, as if there were thousands of troops shouting at the same time. The sound? Bai Ditian said in surprise. Outside our world, my mother has already arranged an army. Mo Yushi explained. Yes. Yan Chuan nodded. As everyone spoke, they saw the light beam that connected the 108 stars in the image suddenly expand by 100 or even 1,000 times. Goyolo. They could see that a huge amount of star power was being extracted from the stars and rushing down towards the great world-suppressing monument. Rumble. The great world-suppressing monument rumbled as it became bigger and bigger. Gradually, it became 1,000 times its original size. The great world-suppressing monument slowly floated up. After it was 30 feet above the ground, it suddenly fell. Home. The great world-suppressing monument smashed into the ground. On the ground, a huge wave that could be seen with the naked eye swept out in all directions. It was like a stone falling into a mirror lake. A ripple swept out in all directions. However, unlike the ripples in the lake, there was only one ripple. Just this one ripple was enough to sweep out in all directions. In the image, the space there became blurry because of this tremor. The powerhouses of the Dazhao Holy Land could naturally see the vastness of that attack, but no one could see the extent of its vastness. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Rumble. The great Zhao Holy Ground shook violently. Was there an earthquake in the great Zhao Holy Land? Everyone looked at the screen in horror. Could this earthquake have come from the Central Divine Continent? Central Divine Continent? Almost all the experts were at a loss for words. They had seen countless Dharma treasures in the world, and there were even many immortal artifacts in this world. However, this was the first time that the great suppressing world steel in the image had shaken the entire world. What level of treasure was this? In the image, the distorted space slowly calmed down. The great suppressing world steel in the image was filled with a powerful aura. Yuan Tiangang stood to the side and said respectfully, reporting to the Divine Lord, This world has already been invaded. It's not easy to mobilize the power of the Star Core. Lord D won't be able to hold on for long. Saint Lord, please take action. Jingming nodded. Looking up, Jingming looked at the endless merit in the sky. Jingming narrowed his eyes and suddenly stretched out his white right hand. His right hand raised to the sky. At the same time, Jingming's body seemed to become bigger and bigger in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it reached the size of 1,000 feet. It was like a huge mountain with its head in the sky. Chapter 906. Jingming's palm reached into the merit sea. Jingming's eyes focused. He clenched his right hand. Ka. Boundless merit was instantly pulled up and quickly shrunk into Jingming's palm. The sky was like a flat piece of cloth that was suddenly pulled into a ball by Jingming. Cha. Jingming shouted and pulled with his right hand. It was like a piece of cloth being pulled down in an instant. Rumble. From Jingming's palm, it radiated in all directions. The space suddenly trembled. The void trembled as if the entire world was about to collapse. Whoosh. Whoosh. In an instant, a huge gust of wind blew around the Dazhao sacred ground. From the trembling void, an endless storm blew down. Not only the Dazhao sacred ground, this hurricane quickly swept across the entire world. The East Divine Continent, the West Divine Continent, and the North Divine Continent all had a huge gust of wind. Around the world, countless experts looked at the sky in shock. Countless living beings in the world were being ravaged by the violent winds. Under one palm, heaven and earth moved. Cha. Jingming's face was distorted. Clearly, he was using almost all his strength at this moment. The powerful pulling force caused the sky to shake uncontrollably. As for the great world-suppressing steel, it held the ground and did not allow it to move. Clearly, if not for the great world-suppressing steel, heaven and earth might have collapsed from Jingming's palm. Around the Dazhao sacred ground, the cultivators who originally wanted to take advantage of the situation were all dumbfounded at this moment. Number one person in the world? Every time Jingming attacked, he seemed to be provoking people's nerves. Who dared to take advantage of him? How can this person who is clearly destroying the balance of the world appear in this world? Who can break this world with one palm? Who can compete with him? Master, the number one person in the world you are preparing to challenge is right in front of you. Do you still want to challenge him? Grandmaster, you said last time that Jingming was only SOSO. Is Grandmaster also so powerful? There were countless confused voices. Clearly, most of them were shocked by Jingming's strength. At this moment, even without Shangguan Wan'er's warning gaze, no one dared to cause trouble. No, even if they were crazy, they would not dare to cause trouble. If they ruined Jingming's plan, the lightest punishment would be to burn their bones and scatter their ashes. Yan Chuan was standing on Dark Phoenix Mountain. At this moment, the blue sky thundercloud in his Shinting acupoint throbbed, as if it had sensed something. Buzz. Vaguely, there seemed to be countless nets appearing in the void. The nets were illusory and real at the same time. They were faintly discernible, as if they had been pulled out by Jingming. On the other hand, if one were to take a closer look at the boundless net, it would seem to have some sort of indescribable rhythm, as if it was some sort of Tao. Justice has a long arm? Is that what I'm talking about? Bai Ditian asked in surprise. Through this skynet, Yan Chuan vaguely saw two huge runes, one black and one white. The runes were very clear, but Yan Chuan just couldn't remember them. He could see it, but he could not remember it. Yan Chuan was also unable to describe the shape of the rune. It was clearly a concrete object, but it seemed to have exceeded the scope of his mind. As soon as he closed his eyes, he forgot all about the shape of the runes. When he opened his eyes, he saw the runes again. It was an indescribable rune. There were two in total, one black and one white. It seemed to be there but also seemed to be far away. Chapter 907. Goddess Jichen's Tao Seal? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Everyone in the Dazhao Holy Land held their breaths. The Tao Seal had appeared. The foundation of the world, the Tao Seal that Goddess Jichen had sealed back then? Shangguan Wan'er's face lit up with joy. Success was right in front of her. As long as Jing Ting made a move, he could take one. However, Jing Ting did not move. Instead, he looked at the center of the two Tao Seals. Buzz. A huge figure slowly appeared in the center of the Tao Seals. It had a human head and a snake body. It looked extremely vast. Just looking at it made one feel like they were worshipping it. It had the appearance of a woman, and her face was filled with compassion. Goddess Jichen? Someone suddenly cried out in surprise. The four great academies all had statues of Goddess Jichen. She was the ancestor of all creatures. This was Goddess Jichin? Countless cultivators were shocked. However, Jing Ting waited with rapt attention. Goddess Jichin's image appeared and looked at Jing Ting. What's your name? Goddess Jichin's image asked indifferently. Wu Ting. Greetings, Goddess Jichin, Jing Ting said after taking a deep breath. You don't need to care about me. I'm just a remnant image of Goddess Jichin. I carry a trace of her will and reside in this sealed world. Now that you've awakened me, do you know what happened to the 5 worlds that Goddess Jichin sealed back then? Goddess Jichin said softly. They've all been opened. This is the last world. All the Tao seals that Goddess Jichin left behind have been taken by the heroes of the world. Jing Ting said. How is the world now? Goddess Jichin said with compassion. Jing Ting frowned slightly. After the heavens died, although they lost their protection, the heroes became even more ambitious than before. All the heroes rose up, fighting against the heavens with their lives and mending the heavens with their lives. Knowing shame makes one brave. I can die without regrets. This sealed world contains my comprehension. It's the heavenly Tao I understood before the heavenly Tao collapsed. I copied the fake heavenly Tao. Although it can't compare to the real heavenly Tao of the past, I hope it can contribute to mending the heavens. Take the 2 Tao seals. Goddess Jichin smiled. No. Jing Ting shook his head. I have my own Tao. I will only take your Tao seal for the sake of obtaining the proof of heaven and earth. I will establish the heavenly court. This world's pseudo-heavenly Tao should be left to those who come later. Jing Ting shook his head. Someone who came later? Goddess Jichin was slightly surprised. Jing Ming nodded. Goddess Jichin's statue suddenly laughed. All right, you have your own great Tao, so my fake heavenly Tao is naturally nothing to you. Great Tao? Back then, I comprehended too little of the great Tao. Otherwise, I could have done more for the world. I hope your great Tao is perfect and invincible. Jingyu received the sincere blessings of Goddess Jichin. My great Tao requires me to establish the heavenly court before it can take shape. I will take your Tao seal, said Jing Ting. As he spoke, Jing Ming reached out to grab one of the seals. Rumble. Goddess Jichin didn't stop him. Instead, she cupped her fists and gave him endless blessings. Boom. Jing Ming's left palm suddenly grabbed hold of the black Tao seal as it shook slightly. Take the yin and leave the yang. I will only take the yin realm Tao seal. I will leave the yang realm to those who come later. Jing Ting took a deep breath. As he spoke, he pulled with his left hand, and the faintly discernible skynet seemed to be pulled over in an instant. At the same time, in an extremely gloomy valley, Great Jin's feng shui master Feng Yinyang suddenly looked up at the sky. The surrounding void shook and countless cracks appeared. Not good, the yin realm is about to collapse. Feng Yinyang's expression changed. Chapter 908. In an extremely eerie valley, Feng Yinyang, the feng shui master of Dezhen, suddenly looked up at the sky. The surrounding space shook and countless cracks appeared. Not good, the netherworld is about to collapse. Feng Yinyang's expression changed. Everyone stop. Quickly, follow me back to the world of the living. Feng Yinyang shouted. Whoosh. Without hesitation, Feng Yinyang quickly took a step forward. The surrounding space distorted, and Feng Yinyang immediately entered it. Southern Divine Continent in the world of the living. Terrible news. Li Tsunghai stood at the entrance of the Yellow Springs, commanding Yin soldiers to enter the world of the living and capture a large number of ghost cultivators. Suddenly heaven and earth shook. My lord, not good. The netherworld is shaking as if it's about to collapse. All the ghosts of the netherworld are rushing over. A cultivator on the Yellow Springs Road cried out. Something happened to the netherworld? Li Tsunghai's expression changed. Remove the defenses and let them in. The more the better. Li Tsunghai shouted. Yes. Rumble. Countless ghost Tao cultivators rushed over in fright, afraid that they would be too late. Li Tsunghai frowned. The netherworld? What's wrong? What happened to the netherworld? Li Tsunghai pulled over a ghost cultivator and asked. It shattered. The netherworld is completely shattered. The ghost cultivator said in horror. What? Li Tsunghai didn't understand. Ghost cultivators surged forward. After 2 hours, the road to the Yellow Springs suddenly began to shake. Boom. There was a loud explosion. The Yellow Springs Road collapsed. Everything froze. It disappeared. The Yellow Springs Road collapsed? The netherworld is completely destroyed? There will be no more netherworld in this sealed world? Li Tsunghai muttered to himself. Dazhao sacred ground. Jing Ming held up the sky with one hand and grabbed the black seal with the other. Rumble. Above the sky net, hundreds of millions of heavenly lightning suddenly burst out, pouring down on Jing Ming. Jing Ming's eyes widened as he suddenly let out a long roar at the heavenly lightning descending from the sea. Cha. His face was ferocious as he faced the heavenly lightning. Rumble. The surging heavenly lightning went against the flow and retreated back into the heavenly net. Countless Xiozha around the great light holy land gaped in shock. Was this a joke? You scared the heavenly thunder away? Even the heavenly thunder could be scared away? At this moment the skynet was much dimmer. Jing Xing grabbed the black Dao seal and pulled it back into his sleeve. His right hand suddenly loosened. Boom. The boundless merit points that were pulled out were spread out again. However, at this moment, more than half of the boundless merit points had been lost. The heavenly net in the sky slowly disappeared from the void, and the white Dao seal seemed to have become much larger in an instant and disappeared as well. Successfully plucked the Dao seal? Shangguan Wan'er and Yuan Tiangang both looked delighted. Congratulations, Holy Lord. You will enjoy immortal blessings forever and live as long as the heavens. The disciples of the great Zhao dynasty were all overjoyed and congratulated him. Jing Ting's expression was much calmer. Instead, he looked at Goddess Jichen, who had yet to disappear. Many thanks. Jing Ting said sincerely. You only have half of it. Naturally, I won't make things difficult for you. I wish you good luck, and I hope that everyone in the world can live an ignoble life. They will. As long as I'm alive, my people will live in the light and die in the dark. Jing Ting nodded. Goddess Jichen crossed her fingers and clenched her fists in front of her chest again, looking like she was praying for Jing Ting. Gradually, Goddess Jichen disappeared. The sky became clear again. The sun shone down, making Jing Ting even more radiant. Chapter 909. Dao seal plucked. Jing Ming succeeded. Jing Ming looked around and everyone looked at him with admiration. Great Zhao disciples, I am about to leave this world. Jing Ming suddenly shouted. As Jing Ting spoke, the countless disciples in the surroundings suddenly revealed looks of surprise. Ascending to become an immortal? Holy Lord ascending to become an immortal? Some were happy, some were worried. Because everyone knew that the reason why Great Zhao Sacred Ground was the #1 sect in the world was because of Jing Ming. Once Jing Ming left, would Great Zhao Sacred Ground still be the #1 sect in the world? Congratulations, Holy Lord. Countless disciples could only congratulate him. Jing Ming nodded and looked at Shangguan Wan. Shangguan Wan'er waved her hand. Middle Void Realm, step forward. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Streams of light shot over, and in the blink of an eye, 300 practitioners appeared in the Wu clan's main hall square. 300? The experts from the other sects took a deep breath. These were all Middle Void Realm experts. The #1 sect in the world had too many talents. Shangguan Wan'er said, Holy Lord is merciful, ascending is imminent. Great Zhao Sacred Ground, Middle Void Realm and above, if you are willing to follow Holy Lord will bring you to the immortal world. Wow. Everyone was in an uproar. Whether it was Great Zhao Sacred Ground disciples or outer sect disciples, they were all shocked. Ascending? Wasn't it only possible for one person to ascend? How could Jing Ming bring so many people with him? How was this possible? The 300 Middle Void Realm experts were all surprised. Everything is up to you. You have 6 hours. Holy Lord is merciful and allows you to bring 10 relatives, only 10. Quickly prepare. Shangguan Wan'er ordered again. Yes, thank you Holy Lord, thank you Holy Lord. The 300 Middle Void Realm experts were overjoyed. Immortal world? Not only could they ascend with Holy Lord, but they could also bring 10 people with them? In an instant, the 300 Middle Void Realm experts flew in all directions, looking for their relatives and disciples. In Great Zhao Sacred Ground, countless disciples below the Middle Void Realm were envious. Martial Ancestor, I am going to pick up Martial Wife. Martial Ancestor, I am going to pick up your daughter. The disciples of Great Zhao Sacred Ground went crazy. The leaders of the 5 major sects were all here, and they were all overjoyed. Guyu Holy Son flew over with his brothers and sisters. Dao Lord Yu looked slightly worried. However, in the end, her eyes were resolute as she summoned her 3 wives and 7 children. Dao Lord Black Sun, however, frowned slightly. Holy Lord. Mohina Dojin suddenly called out respectfully. Jing Ming turned his head and looked over. Holy Lord, I. Mohina Dojin found it hard to speak. You want to stay? Jing Ting immediately understood. Yes. Mohina Dojin replied immediately. Morning, have you gone mad? Tao Lord Yu exclaimed. The others also looked at Maori in confusion. This was a good opportunity to ascend, and Mohina Dojin actually gave it up? Jingting looked at Mohina Dojin. Maori, I told you before that there are some things that you can't touch. Jing Ming said with a cold look in his eyes. Mohina Dojin's expression changed as he looked at Jing Ming in surprise. Blah. Mohina Dojin immediately knelt down. Morning is foolish, Holy Lord is wise. Holy Lord, please forgive me. Mohina Dojin immediately cried out. Forgive? The surrounding people were confused. What happened to Mohina Dojin? What did he do wrong? Jing Ming looked coldly at Mohina Dojin. The 10,000 Wonders Demon Lotus is an evil item. You can't control it? Jing Ming took a deep breath and sighed. Chapter 9-10. Although Dao Monarch Morning Sun was kneeling in front of Jing Ling, he still maintained a trace of persistence and said, Morning Sun wants to give it a try. When Morning Sun ascends in the future, I will definitely look for the Sacred Master and contribute all of my research. No need. Since you don't want to listen to me, you can do it yourself. Jing Ting shook his head and said. Jing Ting relented? Yes, thank you Sacred Lord for not blaming me. Mohina Dojin said happily. Before I woke up from my previous life, you had been following me. You protected me several times without caring about your life. Of course I remember it clearly. If I leave, I won't be able to take the Great Zhao Holy Ground with me. I will pass it to you. We are even. Jing Ting said in a deep voice. Yes, thank you Sacred Lord. Mohina Dojin said gratefully. Jing Ting flipped his hand and a scroll of Tiansu appeared in his palm. Shangguan took it and placed it in front of Mohina Dojin. Take care of yourself. Jing Ting said one last sentence. Yes, thank you Sacred Lord. Mohina Dojin knelt down heavily in front of Jing Ting. 6 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Out of the 300 Upper Emptiness Realm experts, only 16 were unwilling to ascend. The others all brought 10 of their relatives and disciples and stood respectfully in the square of the Wu clan's main hall. These 6 hours were also the last 6 hours for Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi in this world. Yan Chuan and Mo Yushi reluctantly said goodbye. When the time was up, Mo Yushi left reluctantly. In the Mingfeng Mountain, Yan Chuan's eyes flashed with a trace of hatred. Power? Power. Yan Chuan gritted his teeth and said with hatred. If he was as powerful as Jing Ting, why would Mo Yushi leave? He took a few deep breaths and found it hard to calm his emotions. Qing Long, Bai Long, Rosefinch, Xuanwu and the others naturally followed Mo Yushi and left. There were more than 3,000 people standing in the square of the Wu clan's main hall. Everyone was overjoyed. Only Mo Yushi looked at Yan Chuan, her eyes filled with reluctance. There were countless Xiozha in the square. No matter if they were from the Great Zhao Holy Land or the experts of the outer sects, their eyes were filled with envy. Ascending to become an immortal? This was the dream of many Xiozha. Even if it was an Upper Emptiness Realm expert, it would still be a narrow escape from death. However, this group of people were all at the void stage. Could they ascend to the immortal world? No, among their family members, the weakest one was still a baby in their arms. How could he ascend like this? Countless cultivators were filled with regret. If they had known, they would have joined the Great Zhao Holy Land back then. Di Qing, break the boundary. Jing Ting said in a low voice. As he spoke, Jing Ting stretched out his hand and beckoned towards the sky. A stream of light shot straight into the horizon. Boom. There was an explosion in the sky, and then a large hole suddenly appeared in the sky. In the big hole, endless golden light rushed down and enveloped everything around the Wu clan's main hall. Jingling stomped his foot. Rumble. A white cloud appeared under everyone's feet and carried everyone up to the sky. They flew towards the big hole in the void. As for Yuan Tiangang, because his strength had already surpassed immortals, it was easy for him to ascend. For immortals, it was only easy to leave this world but difficult to enter. On the Wu clan square, more than 3,000 Xiozha ascended at the same time. The scene was extremely spectacular. Countless Xiozha looked at them enviously as they flew towards the hole. However, Yan Chuan looked at Mo Yushi with great reluctance and unwillingness. Mo Yushi gave Yan Chuan a gentle smile. When the golden light enveloped everyone and prevented outsiders from seeing them clearly, Mo Yushi's eyes were also filled with reluctance. Stroking her belly, Mo Yushi bit her lips. Her heart was filled with guilt. I don't want the baby to become a fetter in your heart. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you. However, don't worry, I will give birth to him and take good care of him. When we are strong, we will reunite as a family. Do you still remember the feng shui formation when we first met? We met a nightmare inside and had a beautiful dream. In the dream we also gave birth to a baby. There you gave the baby a name Yendong and the name you gave the baby is Dong and Mou, she thought with difficulty. Chapter 9:11. Enveloped in golden light, Jing Ting led more than 3,000 people to ascend to the immortal world. For a moment, auspicious clouds appeared all around the Dazhao Holy Land. Rays of light shot up to the sky, and the people could even hear the sound of bamboo. It was a very thick and beautiful sound. For a moment, countless cultivators were intoxicated. Immortal music? When cultivators ascend, the heavens and earth congratulate them. They really ascended. Around the Dazhao Holy Land, countless cultivators were envious. Once someone ascended to the immortal world, this sealed world would be filled with rays of light, congratulating the ascension. This was the heavens and earth's congratulation, encouraging all the cultivators in the world. And this congratulation of the heavens and earth sent a signal to the entire world. In a city of the Dazhao Holy Land, Meng Wenrua waved the white feather fan and took a deep breath. Jing Ting took the Dao seal. It seems like he succeeded. Jing Ting also ascended? It's time begin. Change the flag on the city wall. Meng Wenrua shouted. Yes. The crowd of cultivators immediately responded. In a valley, Huoguang stood on the head of a giant tiger and saw the sky filled with rays of light, congratulating the heavens and earth. Soldiers, it's time for you to make contributions. Pick up your weapons and follow me to kill. Huoguang shouted. Kill. In the valley, a loud roar rushed to the sky. And in a sect not far from Huoguang. Inside the sect, countless disciples were looking at the rays of light in the sky. In the square of the sect master's hall, a white-browed old man came with his hands behind his back, followed by a group of purple-robed cultivators. Ascended? Could it be that Jing Ting ascended? Sect master, with Jing Ting gone, will our sect expand? Sect master. Everyone looked at the white-browed old man. The white-browed old man shook his head and said, the direction of the Dazhao Holy Land will be the place where the sects will attack. The future is unknown, we should not take the risk, but... Everyone saw a ray of light in the white-browed old man's eyes. The Great Jin dynasty in the south has more than 100 cities. The Great Jin dynasty is weak and hasn't been established for long. Those cities will be a waste in their hands. Why don't you hand them over to our sect to manage? Our sect's strength will definitely increase. The white-browed old man said with certainty. I heard that Yen Chuan hasn't attended morning court for many years. Yen capital must be empty. Sect master, shall we take this opportunity to destroy Dezhen? A cultivator laughed. The white-browed old man nodded with a smile. While everyone was planning to attack Yanjing. Kill. In the distance, a loud battle cry could be heard. The voice was very far away, but there seemed to be millions of cultivators shouting. Go and take a look. What's going on? The white-browed old man called out. Suddenly, a white light shot over from afar. Reporting sect master. Not good. The Great Jin Empire's army is coming. In a valley, Yifeng led close to 10,000 cultivators and drove the zombies towards a vassal sect of the Great Zhao Holy Land. Look carefully. Don't let any of these zombies escape. Yifeng called out. Yes. Zhu Jiansheng and the others immediately responded. In another vassal sect of the Great Zhao Holy Land. In the sky, countless merits shone on this vassal sect. Countless cultivators looked up at the endless auspicious clouds in the sky. A man in a golden robe suddenly appeared in the sky above the sect with a giant bell in his hand. Dong. The giant bell suddenly rang loudly. Ah! Countless cultivators in the sect immediately covered their ears and cried out in pain. Who is it? Suddenly, more than 10 strong cultivators rushed into the sky and surrounded Jin Dayu. Chapter 9:12. The Great Jin Dynasty's third army commander, Jin Dayu, is here on the Emperor's orders to enlist you. Jin Dayu shouted. Enlistment. Everyone's face sank. Everyone, I believe you can tell that Jing Ting has already ascended. Jin Dayu shouted. So what? Someone immediately shouted. The Great Zhao Holy Land's master must have changed hands. You are a sect conferred by the Great Zhao Holy Land. You are bound to the Great Zhao Holy Land for good or ill. I don't know who the new master is, but it is definitely not Jing Ting. Your ocean of merits comes from the Great Zhao Holy Land and cannot be independent. You can either remain loyal to the Great Zhao Holy Land or join my Great Shen. I will report this to the Emperor and give you enough attention. Ah, what a joke. The Grey Jin dynasty? What is the Grey Jin dynasty? You want us to submit? A small dynasty is only equivalent to a lesser sect. We are a middle sect. One of them said disdainfully. Lesser? Do you think it is difficult for my Grey Jin dynasty to advance to the middle sect? Jin Dayu laughed. Everyone raised their eyebrows. I believe you can feel it from your ocean of merits. Your former sect master's upper void stage Dharma idol has disappeared. Jin Dayu said with a smile. Everyone frowned and looked at Jin Dayu. He shouldn't be in this world. He ascended with Jingting. As for your sect, the strongest is only at the middle void realm. In the East Divine Continent, your sect is already at the bottom of the middle level sections. Moreover, your ocean of merits is not up to you. It was conferred by the Great Zhao, and the Great Zhao can take it back at any time. What is the point of you sticking to it? Jin Dayu said with a smile. Bastard. We don't need you to interfere in our... A cultivator immediately shouted. Junior brother, shut up. Another cultivator in purple robes shouted. Jin Dayu smiled and said, You don't know about the Great Jin dynasty, but you should know about me. As he spoke, Jin Dayu's aura suddenly burst out. Upper void stage? Everyone's expression changed. In the Great Jin dynasty I am only a subordinate. Do you still think the Great Jin dynasty is weak? Jin Dayu laughed. Everyone's expression changed. In the past, the undying sacred ground was destroyed and the Dazhao sacred ground rose. Today the Dazhao sacred ground is nearing its end. Everyone, it's time for you to decide your life. Jin Dayu took a deep breath and said, Decide one's life again? Everyone raised their eyebrows. The leader of the purple-robed cultivators looked at Jin Dayu and said, If I use the sect's power of merit, you might not be able to defeat me. Jin Dayu smiled faintly and did not refute. Do you know why I'm telling you all this? Jin Dayu asked with a solemn expression. Out of the 5 major vassal sects of the Dazhao Holy Land, the Lanyu sect was destroyed by King Gaiyu. There are still 4 major vassal sects left. I Dazhao will definitely obtain the merits of these 4 major vassal sects. Jin Dayu said after taking a deep breath. What? Everyone's expression changed. What arrogance! The purple-robed cultivator said in a deep voice. Tone? It won't be long before you learn the truth. As for why I'm wasting my breath on you, it's because your sect is about to approach my Great Jin. I'm willing to accept everything you have, so I didn't kill you, said Jin Dayu. Approach? Ah. The Great Jin dynasty and my sect are separated by a middle-rank sect. How can we be neighbors? A cultivator immediately said in disdain. However, that purple-robed cultivator's expression changed. Junior brother, shut up. Chapter 9:13. Everyone looked at the purple-robed cultivator. At the same time they suddenly thought of something. Great Jin was going to destroy those sects as well? The purple-robed cultivator looked at Jin Dayu, and his gaze changed. Even if you destroy our 4 major sects, our merits will only flow back to the Great Zhao Holy Land. You won't get them. No, there's one possibility. Jin Dayu laughed. You even want to invade the Great Zhao Holy Land? The purple-robed cultivator immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Jin Dayu didn't explain anymore because everything was enough. Jin Dayu took a deep breath and said, I'm only here to inform you and give you some time to consider. After the other 3 major vassal sects are destroyed, I'll come to ask you again. At that time, if you still don't agree, I'll take action. A cultivator's expression changed. Jin Dayu flew into the sky. After flying for a while, he turned his head and said, I hope you all can decide as soon as possible because the sooner you decide, the more you can contribute to Great Jin during this period. The more you can obtain, the more power Great Jin will have. Finished speaking, Jin Dayu turned into a stream of light and disappeared in an instant. Bastard, come on. A disciple shouted angrily. Junior brother, shut up. The purple-robed cultivator immediately frowned. Everyone looked at the purple-robed cultivator. Senior brother? The purple-robed cultivator took a deep breath and said, I didn't expect it, I really didn't expect it. I could guess that the Holy Lord would ascend, but the first to rise in the East Divine Continent is actually the Great Jin dynasty. This is too inconceivable. Senior brother, do you think what he said is true? Everyone was shocked. The purple-robed cultivator nodded and said, The upper void realm is a subject, and I know that the tiger race has already submitted to Great Jin. Also, not long ago Yen Chuan even captured True Lord Lanyu. The Great Jin dynasty's power and ambition are too great. But can Great Jin really become the strongest in the East Divine Continent? After all, the Great Zhao Holy Land still exists. Someone asked. It still exists, but without the Holy Lord, is the Great Zhao Holy Land still the #1 sect in the world? We are different from the other middle-rank sections. No matter how chaotic the world is, the other middle-rank sects can protect themselves because their merit cloud sea is their own, but my merit cloud sea doesn't belong to us. The purple-robed cultivator said. Everyone was silent. Senior brother, what should we do now? The few of you immediately dispersed to the other 3 vassal sects as well as the middle sects between us and the Great Jin dynasty. See if the Great Jin dynasty has really sent out their troops. Go quickly. The purple-robed cultivator immediately ordered. Yes. The group of experts immediately flew over. After making arrangements for everyone, the purple-robed cultivator looked up at the sky and sighed. Julu Academy, Radiant World's entrance. Meng Ling Tian brought Meng Rongrong and Dongfang Jingpai to look at the countless rays of light in the sky. Meng Ling Tian took a small step forward with uncertainty. Old Meng, do you want to die? Dongfang Jingpai exclaimed. Teacher, you can't go out. You're already an immortal. Once you go out, you'll be suppressed by the sealed world. Endless heavenly thunder will descend. You won't be able to withstand it, Meng Rongrong said. Meng Ling Tian ignored him and stepped forward with a trace of suspicion. Oh. Meng Ling Tian stood outside the light world. He looked up at the sky. After waiting for a while, not a single bolt of lightning appeared in the sky. It's gone? The confinement of heaven and earth is gone? What exactly happened? This world doesn't reject us immortals anymore? Meng Ling Tian muttered to himself. Chapter 9:14. Dazhao Sacred Ground. The light in the sky gradually disappeared. Gradually, the tear on his body began to heal. The sky became clear again. A gentle breeze blew past as if nothing had happened. However, the main character of this place, the master of the Dazhao Sacred Ground, along with the top forces of the Dazhao Sacred Ground, had almost all left. Looking at the place where Mo Yushi disappeared, Yen Chuan felt lost. Wu Clan's main hall plaza. Mohina Dojin only dared to open the Tiansu that Jing Ting left behind. Once the Tiansu was opened, a golden light shot towards Mohina Dojin. Rumble. In the sky, endless merits rolled, as if the new master of the Dazhao Sacred Ground was changing. Tens of millions of cultivators of the Dazhao Sacred Ground stood in all directions. Greetings, Sacred Lord. Millions of cultivators congratulated Mohina Dojin. Of course, there were also millions of cultivators who didn't bow. Although Mohina Dojin was also in the upper emptiness realm and was also an expert, in the eyes of these people he was far inferior to Jing Ting. Some people were not convinced by Mohina Dojin. Father, congratulations on taking control of the Dazhao Sacred Ground. Yang Zigu immediately ran to the front and said excitedly. Although it was a pity that he couldn't ascend with Jing Ting, he was still the young master of the Sacred Ground. Moreover, with how much his father doted on him, he was definitely above everyone else in the Sacred Ground. Mohina Dojin looked at the millions of experts bowing in front of him and revealed a satisfied expression. However, at this moment a green light flew over. It was Yao Tianshang. He led 20 subordinates and flew in front of Mohina Dojin. Yao Tianshang was the first to jump out. He immediately attracted the attention of everyone. North Divine Continent Yao Tianshang? Mohina Dojin's face darkened. Yao Tianshang smiled and said, Congratulations Mohina Dojin, for taking control of the Dazhao Sacred Ground. What do you want? Mohina Dojin asked. Just as Mohina Dojin finished speaking, 10 of the 16 Middle Void Realm experts who were unwilling to ascend with him suddenly turned around and bowed towards Yao Tianshang. Greetings, Master. The 10 of them said respectfully. Master. Countless cultivators in the surroundings immediately revealed surprised expressions. What are you doing? You want to betray my great Zhao Holy Land? Yang Zigu immediately exclaimed. Yao Tianshang smiled faintly and said, These 10 are originally part of the Demon Clan. Although they have joined the Dazhao Holy Ground, they are still part of the Demon Clan. I am here to take away these Demon Clan members who are willing to follow me. Mohina Dojin, you won't stop me, right? Mohina Dojin's face darkened. Almost all the Middle Void Realm martial artists in the Great Revelation Sacred Ground had been taken away by Jing Ting. There were only 16 Middle Void Realm martial artists, and Yao Tianshang was going to take away 10 of them at once? What if I don't? Mohina Dojin said coldly. Yao Tianshang and Mohina Dojin immediately started to fight. Yao Tianshang's aura had also reached the upper Void Realm. Neither of them was going to give way to the other. On the other side, Yan Chuan watched as Mo Yushi disappeared and felt a sense of loss. At this moment, Yan Chuan was in a very bad mood. He wasn't even interested in watching the fight between Mohina Dojin and Yao Tianshang. This was because the news here would soon be delivered to him by the great Jin East factory. Let's go, Bai Ditian, Yan Chuan said. Yes. Bai Ditian nodded. This time Jing Ting's strength had dealt a huge blow to Bai Ditian. Just as the two of them were about to leave, a voice that targeted them suddenly sounded. Yan Chuan? You want to leave now? Isn't it a little too late? A soft voice sounded. Chapter 9:15. Roar. With a dragon's roar, more than 100 figures soared into the sky. All of them were dressed in dragon robes and riding dragon horses. They stood in front of Yan Chuan with imposing auras. A huge aura surged over. Bai Ditian's expression changed as he immediately responded with his aura. Protect Yan Chuan. There were more than 100 people, but the dragon horse of the leader was twice the size of the others. His face was dignified, and his eyes were sharp as he stared coldly at Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan was not afraid at all as he replied coldly. At the same time he recognized the leader at a glance. The leader was Yan Chuan, who had seen the painting countless times. Kong Imoku? Yan Chuan's eyes were cold. A ferocious glint flashed across Yan Chuan's eyes. Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku's eyes were cold, and it was as if thousands of long knives were about to shoot out and kill Yan Chuan. Kong Susu's vile spawn. No one would have thought that in just a few decades he would have such achievements. Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku said coldly. Vile spawn? One day the vile spawn you speak of will wring your head off. In honor of my parents' souls in heaven. Yan Chuan sneered. Ha ha, one day? Will there be? After today the vile spawn will no longer exist in this world. Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku sneered. Bai Ditian, who was standing at the side, frowned deeply. Upper Void Realm? Bai Ditian's expression darkened. It was not that Bai Ditian was afraid of the Upper Void Realm, but there were too many of them. Yan Chuan estimated with his eyes, 20 Upper Void stage martial artists? It seems like the Kong family has given you quite a bit of help this time. Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku's expression turned cold. Yan Chuan had actually seen through the group of people he had brought with him at a glance. This made Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku extremely angry. However, Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku quickly calmed down. He saw through them? So what if he saw through them? Humph, this is the paragon of the tiger race, Bai Ditian. Heaven, son of heaven, Imoku said solemnly. Bai Ditian narrowed his eyes at son of heaven, Imoku. The great Jin Empire is about to change hands. Bai Ditian, I will give you a chance. Submit to me now and my great Buddha Empire will accept the tiger tribe. Otherwise you will be buried here with Yan Chuan. Emperor Imoku looked at Bai Ditian. As Heavenly Son Imoku spoke, the 100 people behind him adjusted their surging battle hunger and pressed towards Yan Chuan and Bai Ditian. Bai Ditian did not say anything. Ha, Kong Mok, you really think highly of yourself. Yan Chuan sneered. Today I have seen the murderer of my father. I can't kill him with my own hands now, but Kong Mok, remember my words. The revenge of my parents is absolutely irreconcilable. I will kill you. Moreover, I will execute you in front of everyone. Yan Chuan shouted coldly. Do you have a chance? Emperor Imoku sneered. As Emperor Imoku spoke, he waved his hand, and 3 experts stepped out on their horses. All of them had long sabers hanging from their waists. Before they arrived, a wave of murderous intent pressed over. Yan Chuan smiled coldly and stretched out his hand. Roar. Suddenly, a heaven-shaking dragon roar came from the foot of Dark Phoenix Mountain. Rumble. Suddenly, countless cracks appeared on Dark Phoenix Mountain. Boundless black aura came out of the cracks. The black aura was extremely ferocious, and all the vegetation that it passed withered. A ferocious and evil aura surged out. This is... Countless cultivators in the surroundings looked over in shock. Even Yao Qianshang and Dao Lord Black Sun, who were in the midst of their battle, turned to look at him. Chapter 9:16. The Dark Phoenix Mountain shattered, and a black aura soared into the sky? What was going on? Boom. The Dark Phoenix Mountain suddenly exploded. Black fog immediately soared into the sky, and a black dragon head that was hundreds of meters long slowly emerged from the black fog. The moment the black dragon head appeared, a terrifying aura spread out. On the dragon head were Yan Chuan, Bai Ditian, and 50 black-robed figures. The one in the lead was Feng Yin Yang. When the dragon head appeared, everyone saw that it was actually a blind dragon. It was a blind dragon head. The dragon body slowly swayed out. It was lifeless, but its power soared into the sky. The moment the black dragon appeared, it let out another dragon roar. Roar. The dragon's roar was so loud that it caused a strong wind to blow around the entire Dazhao sacred ground. The 3 upper void realm experts who had stepped out earlier were forced back by the aura of the blind dragon. Smack. He swung his dragon tail towards Prince Emoku. The 5 upper void realm experts' expressions changed as they rushed out. Boom. The 5 upper void realm experts attacked at the same time, and the sound shook the 9 heavens. The dragon tail knocked back, and the 5 upper void realm experts also retreated by 10 meters. The power of the dragon tail was so strong. Roar. The blind dragon let out a long roar and soared into the sky, carrying Yin Xuan and flying away in an instant. On the dragon head far away, Yin Xuan shouted, "Kong Mok? You want to kill me? I'll be waiting for you in Yanjing. I'll be waiting for you at any time." The blind dragon swung its tail and instantly headed south. Kong Mok watched Yin Xuan leave with a gloomy expression. "Your Majesty, that black dragon should be a type of feng shui dragon vein. However, I can't figure out how to make it so powerful." A person next to him was deep in thought. "Your Majesty, are we letting them go just like that?" Another person said unhappily. Kong Mok's expression was gloomy as he watched Yin Xuan and the others leave. He did not stop them. Yin Xuan? He's just a clown. When I'm done with my matters, I'll go and capture Yin Xuan." Kong Mok said coldly. "Yes." Everyone replied. "Since Jing Ting has left, only Mohina Dojin is left in the Great Zhao Holy Grounds. Later follow me to subdue Maori and Yao Tianshang. I want the Great Zhao Holy Grounds to submit to the Great Buddha Imperial Dynasty." Kong Mok shouted. "Yes." Everyone answered. Following which, they followed Kong Mok and looked towards the Wu clan main hall in the distance. In the Dazhao Holy Ground, there were only Mohina Dojin, an upper ethereal stage and 6 middle ethereal stage cultivators left. The rest were weak lower ethereal stage cultivators. Although Kong Mok only brought 100 people with him this time, there were more than 20 upper ethereal stage cultivators. Kong Mok was determined to obtain the Great Zhao Holy Ground. Yin Xuan and his group stepped on the blind dragon and headed towards the south. Feng Yinyang led a group of feng shui masters and said respectfully to Yin Xuan, "Emperor, when you let us enter the netherworld, I set up my branch's Black Dragon Fantasy World formation. Originally it was almost done. When Jing Ting failed, we could send 100 black dragons into the world of the living to assist Emperor in destroying or subduing the Great Zhao Holy Grounds. Unfortunately, the netherworld was destroyed and all of our arrangements were destroyed. Only this black dragon is left. Furthermore, with its connection to the netherworld broken, this black dragon won't be able to hold on for long. Perhaps in 2 to 4 hours, it will collapse." Yin Xuan nodded. "This is not your fault. The Great Zhao Holy Grounds is not over yet." "Yes." Furthermore, from the looks of it, Kong Mok brought 20 upper ethereal stage cultivators and obviously wants to subdue the Great Zhao Holy Grounds. It won't be that easy. 10,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus? Originally, I didn't think much of it. I didn't expect Jing Ting to place such importance on the 10,000 Wonders Demonic Lotus. Kong Mok? I wonder what the result of their trip will be." Yin Xuan took a deep breath and said, "Yes." Feng Yinyang nodded. "The news here will be sent back to Yanjing soon. Now we need to return to Yanjing as soon as possible. After this battle, the Great Zhao Holy Grounds will definitely reach the peak and become an emperor dynasty." Yin Xuan said in a deep voice. "Yes." Chapter 917. The Zhao Holy Land. The moment the experts brought by Son of Heaven Emoku released their auras, the entire place exploded. 20 Upper Void Realm experts and 80 Peak Middle Void Realm experts. They were all extremely strong people. The experts of the various sects watching the battle were all astonished. Everyone knew that when Jing Jun ascended, there would be a great reshuffle in the world. However, no one expected it to happen so quickly. When Son of Heaven Emoku and the others released their auras, the powerful pressure made the countless cultivators of the Dazhao Holy Land unable to resist. The pressure of an upper void realm expert was not something ordinary people could withstand. Although the Dazhao Holy Land had close to 10 million cultivators, only about 5,000 lower void realm experts could withstand the pressure of 20 upper void realm experts. 5,000? Seemed like a huge group. However, could these people fight against 20 upper void realm experts? 16 middle void stage experts were facing 80 peak middle void stage experts. Son of Heaven Imoku did not move. The 80 middle void realm experts blocked everyone. 4 upper void realm experts against Yao Qianshang alone. Boom. The 4 upper void realm experts chopped down with their sabers from 4 different directions, slashing towards Yao Qianshang. Boom. Yao Qianshang held his saber and sword into the sky, blocking the 4 experts with difficulty. The 5 experts were in a stalemate. Bam. 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 The sharp saber energy left many bloody wounds on Yao Qianshang's body. Yao Qianshang could not move aside. Once he did, the 4 sabers would definitely kill him on the spot. Yao Qianshang, submit to me. Son of Heaven Imoku led the 16 upper void realm experts and looked coldly at Yao Qianshang. Cough. Cough. Yao Qianshang coughed out a trace of blood, his eyes cold. Submit to me. Son of Heaven Imoku's aura pressed down again. Ha ha. Vomit. Yao Qianshang spat out a mouthful of blood and laughed evilly. I will give you one last chance. Submit to me. Son of Heaven Imoku said coldly. In the square of the Wu clan's main hall, Son of Heaven Imoku suppressed everyone. What are you waiting for in your previous life? Yao Qianshang said coldly. Previous life? Son of Heaven Imoku frowned slightly. Countless cultivators around them showed curious expressions and looked at Yao Qianshang in confusion. As soon as Yao Qianshang finished speaking, he added another sentence. Don't resist. Let me take control of this life's body. Yao Qianshang said again. The surrounding experts. Take it. Yao Qianshang smiled in a carefree manner. Boom boom boom. Rays of white jade light suddenly appeared around Yao Qianshang. As soon as the light appeared, the space around Yao Qianshang started to tremble. Rumble. Yao Qianshang's saber turned pure white in an instant as it shot toward the sky. Yao Qianshang's eyes also shone with a gentle white jade light. Gradually, the ferocious look in Yao Qianshang's eyes disappeared. It was replaced by a look of condescension and disdain. It was a look of superiority, a look of absolute dominance. This look? Not far away in front of the Wu clan's main hall, Mohina Dojin's expression changed. What's wrong with your eyes? Yang Zigu looked at his father in confusion. Sacred Master Jingying's eyes have this kind of aura. This is the gaze of a peerless expert. Mohina Dojin's expression changed. Apart from Mohina Dojin, many others could see it. Son of Heaven Imoku's expression darkened. He showed a hint of surprise. At the same time, he instinctively felt that something was wrong. He's not Yao Qianshang anymore. Quick, kill him. Quick. Son of Heaven Imoku shouted. Chapter 9:18. Yes. The 4 upper void realm cultivators who were suppressing Yao Qianshang shouted at the same time. Ha. 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 The 4 shouted at the same time. The astral sabers in their hands suddenly doubled in size. Astral saber energy shot out in all directions toward Yao Qianshang. Die. The 4 upper void realm cultivators shouted at the same time. Yao Qianshang's demonic energy did not change in the storm of astral saber energies. However, the saber he swung seemed unstoppable for some reason. Roar. Yao Qianshang roared. Suddenly, a golden saber light flashed in the storm of astral saber energies. Boom. The entire storm of astral saber energies exploded. The boundless astral saber energies instantly collapsed. The golden saber light instantly slashed through the bodies of the 4 upper void realm cultivators. Boom. A bloody mist exploded in the air. The 4 upper void realm cultivators were instantly killed by one saber strike. Rumble. The ground trembled. However, the cultivators in the surroundings remained silent. One saber strike? 4 upper void realm cultivators? Even Emperor Imoku's mouth was agape. How could Yao Qianshang become so strong in an instant? The ground gradually calmed down. Yao Qianshang's figure appeared in the storm of astral saber energies again. Master. Spider King and the other 30 middle void realm cultivators ran over excitedly. At this moment, no one stopped these middle void realm cultivators. Yao Qianshang's shocking saber strike had already explained everything. Yao Qianshang, who was glowing with a faint white light, looked at the crowd. Finally, he looked at Emperor Imoku. You are not Yao Qianshang. Who are you? Emperor Imoku asked coldly. His gaze shifted from Emperor Imoku to Mohina Dojin. Then he looked at the surroundings. Spider King, let's go. Yao Qianshang shouted. Yes, the great beasts answered. Aside from the 30 middle void realm cultivators, the Dazhao sacred ground had close to 300 lower void realm great beasts. they flew into the sky with Yao Qianshang. Yao Qianshang did not look for trouble with Emperor Imoku. Instead, he prepared to leave with all the great beasts. Although that saber strike had humiliated Emperor Imoku, it also proved Yao Qianshang's strength. No one dared to stop Yao Qianshang. Yao Qianshang mentioned his past life. Are you Yao Qianshang's past life? Who are you? Emperor Imoku asked again. Emperor Imoku acknowledged Yao Qianshang's strength, but he wasn't necessarily afraid of him. It was just that he didn't want both sides to suffer losses at this moment and lose his plan. Yao Qianshang flew up with the demons and turned to look at Emperor Imoku. Remember, my name is Ju. As he spoke, Yao Qianshang led everyone and flew towards the north. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from everyone's sight. He left the great Zhao Holy Land. The white light in Yao Qianshang's eyes dimmed slightly. In the blink of an eye, Yao Qianshang's expression returned to normal. In order to prevent this life's flesh body from relying on the previous life's me, I can't stay in this state for long. Ju said in a deep voice. Now I believe that you don't want to devour me. Yao Qianshang nodded. After I return, I will pass on all the memories of my previous life to you. At the same time, I have finally deduced a human body. It is time for me to split myself. Ju said in a deep voice. Yes. Yao Qianshang nodded. Dazhao sacred ground. Emperor Imoku Mohina Dojin, and the others watched as Yao Qianshang and the others left. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. Ju. Emperor Imoku frowned and pondered. Mohina Dojin also frowned and pondered. This name didn't sound familiar. Ju. Suddenly, Emperor Imoku's expression changed and his pupils shrank. Chapter 919. Who was Ju? On the other side, Mohina Dojin's expression changed as well. He finally remembered. Ju? 30,000 years ago he suppressed all the heroes of the world as a fiend. 30,000 years ago he was the strongest person in the world? Mohina Dojin immediately sucked in a sharp breath. Mohina Dojin was not the only one who reacted. Many cultivators also gradually reacted. Ju? An unparalleled existence had indeed appeared in this world. However, it was too long ago. 30,000 years had passed, so many people did not think much about it. However, now that they thought about it, it was definitely not wrong. Killing 4 upper illusory realm cultivators with one saber strike? The strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago? Heavenly Son Imoku said through gritted teeth. The countless cultivators in the surroundings gaped in shock. The strongest person in the world just ascended. How did another strongest person appear? The strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago? When Jing Ming ascended, everyone understood that this world was about to undergo a huge reshuffle. However, Ju's appearance made everyone understand that this reshuffle would be even more intense and grand than they imagined. Of course, people still did not know that this was not as simple as a reshuffle. After this great change, even immortals would appear in this resplendent land. The strongest person in the world 30,000 years ago? So what? This is no longer 30,000 years ago. Jing Ming ascended. The new strongest person in the world will definitely be this Emperor Kong Mok. Heavenly Son Imoku said ferociously. After speaking, Heavenly Son Imoku turned to look at Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin, now that Yao Qianshang is gone, lead the great Zhao Holy Land and submit to my great Buddha Imperial Dynasty. Heavenly Son Imoku shouted. Mohina Dojin smiled coldly and said, Kong Mok, you have to understand that this is the East Divine Continent, the great Zhao Holy Land. It is not a place for you to behave atrociously. Is that so? Heavenly Son Imoku said with a sullen expression. The 16 upper illusory realm cultivators behind Heavenly Son Imoku released their auras and pressed down on Mohina Dojin. Dat IPU. Yang Zigu was pressed down and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Mohina Dojin's face darkened. He waved his hand and shielded Yang Zigu behind him. Mohina Dojin grabbed a black lotus in his hand. Great Buddha Imperial Dynasty? So what? Mohina Dojin's eyes turned cold. Who? The black lotus instantly merged with Mohina Dojin's body. In an instant, a monstrous evil aura gushed out from Mohina Dojin's body. As soon as the evil aura appeared, it immediately collided with the aura of the 16 upper void realm martial artists. Boom. In the square of the Wu clan's main hall, the collision created a huge storm. 2 months later. Great Jin Dynasty Yenjing. Inside an official's house. One of the eunuchs smiled at the official and said, Lord Zhang, today is the court assembly. Please enter the court quickly. His Majesty is back? The official was puzzled. The eunuchs didn't say anything. Instead he smiled and said, "The court assembly starts at 7 a.m. Lord Zhang, don't be late." After saying that, the eunuchs immediately left and went to the next official's house. On this day, countless officials in Yinjing received the notice of the court assembly and all of them headed to the Chaotian Palace. Imperial Palace. In a large hall, Lu Jin and Lu Gang stood respectfully in front of ZZ. "Empress, it has begun. Marquis Yin has called for the court assembly today. All the officials have received the notice. It seems that we have to wait for today to act," Lu Jin said with a gloomy expression. Lu Gang also nodded and said, "Empress, today a Baihu from the East faction reported that Yen Qiuyu has already tried on the dragon robe in the residence." "Try on the dragon robe?" ZZ's eyes turned cold. Chapter 920. Great Jin Dynasty, Yen Capital, Imperial Palace, Chaotian Palace Square. There had not been a court assembly for more than a decade. Of course, Yi Feng had helped Yen Chuan with some government affairs, so many officials had come to the Skyward Palace Square before. However, this was the first time so many officials had gathered. His Majesty is back? The officials who had arrived early all revealed puzzled expressions. Most of the officials had seen Yen Chuan before. After seeing the current Great Jin Dynasty, everyone understood how great Yen Chuan was. Mortal empires were not on the same level as the current imperial empires. In fact, the officials here could destroy a dynasty of the past with their individual strength. Although they had not seen Yen Chuan for more than 10 years, the officials were still full of respect for Yen Chuan. As the officials waited, they suddenly discovered that on this day, nearly 100 members of the Yen clan had arrived at the Palace of Heaven. The Yen clan? Yen Chuan had given these people titles of nobility, but no official positions. However, Yen Chuan had never rejected these people. As long as they had the ability, they could participate in the normal assessment system of the Great Jin Empire and perform normal meritorious deeds, and they would be able to enter the imperial court. Logically speaking, the Yen clan was the happiest group of people in Dezhen. They didn't have to do anything and enjoyed the noble titles that others had worked so hard to earn. Of course, none of the officials were jealous. At most, they were envious. After all, Yen Chuan's surname was Yen. The members of the Yen clan were also at a loss. There were shriveled old men and children who were just learning to walk. All of them had been summoned to the square of Skyward Hall. "What are you doing?" The Yen clan relatives were filled with curiosity. Yen Qiuyu's children were also at a loss. Yen Qiuyu had never told anyone about her rebellion. 7 in the morning. In front of heaven-facing hall, a large number of soldiers suddenly poured in from a large door. The soldiers all held weapons in their hands as they protected Yen Qiuyu and the group of black-robed men. Yen Qiuyu wore a flat imperial crown on her head and a set of golden blue dragon robes. Step by step, she walked over in an extremely solemn manner. The officials and Yen clan members all turned their heads to look. "Marquis Yen? Yen Qiuyu, how dare you?" A straightforward official immediately exclaimed. "Traitor, how dare you wear the imperial robe?" Another official exclaimed. The civil and military officials immediately burst into an uproar. Many of the eunuchs who were waiting around also revealed looks of panic. Even the members of the Yen clan were at a loss. "Marquis Yen? Yen Qiuyu? Why was he wearing a dragon robe?" "Father, what happened to you?" One of Yen Qiuyu's daughters cried out in alarm. A large number of soldiers rushed in, wielding sabers in their hands as they charged at the officials. Wherever they pointed their sabers, the officials were forced to retreat. Yen Qiuyu walked over step by step. 20 black-clothed men followed behind him, their expressions extremely solemn. "How dare you, Yen Qiuyu? Are you trying to rebel?" An official shouted angrily. Boom! The official was punched to the ground by a soldier. Yen Qiuyu coldly glanced around. Great Jin Dynasty Yen Chuan is tyrannical. He established the country but did not manage it. He disregarded the lives of the people of Great Jin Dynasty. He is a tyrannical and incapable ruler who does not deserve to enjoy the world. Yen Qiuyu said in a low voice. "How dare you, bastard!" Curses rang out. However, there were also some officials who agreed. Marquis Yen is right. Yen Chuan is incapable. He disregarded the lives of the people and caused them to suffer. Marquis Yen, on behalf of the people, we implore Marquis Yen to take charge of the situation. A treacherous official immediately shouted. Chapter 921. Marquis Yen, please ascend to the throne. Marquis Yen, please take charge of Zhen. Emperor Emeritus, please reclaim the throne. For a moment, the officials who had rebelled against Marquis Yen began to clamor. The great Jin dynasty's officials followed the four generals to different battlefields. The officials who stayed behind weren't officials, but officials who were capable of handling government affairs. They weren't mediocre officials, but they weren't incompetent either. The officials were immediately divided into two factions, and they even started fighting. Father, I support you. One of Yen Qiuyu's sons shouted happily. Many of the Yen clan's relatives had complicated expressions on their faces. Yen Qiuyu's bloodline was closer to theirs, but many of them were loyal to Yen Chuan after seeing how powerful Great Zhen was. Why would they rebel now? Traitor. An elder of the Yen clan scolded. Eighth uncle, you used to be an important official of Great Yen. How can you call my father a traitor? Do you know how much my father values you? Once Great Yen restores, my father will definitely put you in an important position. Yen Qiuyu's son shouted. Get lost. The elder of the Yen clan scolded. The square of Chaotian Hall was in chaos. At this moment an old eunuch walked out. Everyone, Yen Emperor is now in charge of all places in Yen capital, including the Qianhu of the East faction. Yen Emperor is now a lower void realm expert. I'm sure you all know that Yen Chuan is only in the immortal state. How can an immortal state Yen Chuan compare to Yen Emperor? Great Zhen was originally expanded from Great Yen. Yen Emperor's return to power is in accordance with the will of heaven. The old eunuch shouted. After the old eunuch finished speaking, he opened the jade box in his hand, revealing an imperial seal. Today, Emperor Yen ascends to the throne once again, and all the officials pay their respects. Tomorrow, Emperor Yen announces to the world that everyone will celebrate and honor the new emperor's ascension to the throne. The old eunuch held up the imperial seal and shouted, "Long live His Majesty! Long live His Majesty!" Immediately 1/3 of the officials knelt down and shouted, "Long live the Emperor!" A third of the members of the Yen clan also knelt down. "Long live the mountain!" However, the others continued to curse, "Rebel, the Emperor will definitely not forgive you. Rebels and traitors, once the Emperor's army arrives, none of you will survive." While the officials were cursing, the soldiers that Yen Qiuyu had brought with her immediately stepped forward and started fighting. Boom, boom, boom. A group of officials fell to the ground with heavy injuries. "Yen Chuan, you brat, how capable are you?" Yen Qiuyu took a step forward and said, "Yen Qiuyu is now in my control, and there are 20 important people in the cities who used to be Great Yan's officials." Today Yen Qiuyu took a step forward and said, "Everyone pay your respects to the new emperor now. The new emperor will definitely put you in an important position. Otherwise, our blades will not show any mercy." The old eunuch shouted. Ching. The soldiers raised their long sabers and pointed them at the civil officials. Bah. Yen Qiuyu, Great Jin's system has been perfected. Great Jin only has one emperor. Do you think you can usurp the throne? Dream on. One of the officials shouted. The emperor is only sending out the army. If you rebel at this time, the emperor will definitely kill you. Another official shouted angrily. Kill. The old eunuch shouted angrily. Chapter 922. Xing. A few soldiers immediately attacked. However, they did not attack the officials who cursed Yen Qiuyu. Instead, they attacked the officials who were kneeling on the ground and bowing to Yen Qiuyu. Gulyalu. In the blink of an eye, 10 heads rolled on the ground. What? Yen Qiuyu's expression changed. How dare you? The old eunuch shouted. However, the 1,000 soldiers who came with Yen Qiuyu suddenly pointed their swords at Yen Qiuyu and the group of black-robed men. You, the old eunuch cried out. Quang. The doors of the skyward palace opened. The moment the doors of the palace opened, Zizi stepped out of the palace. Behind Zizi were Lu Gang, Lu Jin, and a group of soldiers armed with swords and sabers. Greetings to the Empress. Long live the Empress. The officials said respectfully. On the other hand, the traitorous officials widened their eyes and trembled. Yen Qiuyu, my husband sent a letter to give you a chance to repent. However, you still took this step, Zizi shouted coldly. Yen Chuan only has a father who cultivates. He has a better springboard to become an emperor. He is not as good as me. How can a cultivator who travels all day be fit to be an emperor? Moreover, is his cultivation as fast as mine? I have already reached the lower emptiness realm. He is not as good as me as an emperor. He is not as good as me in terms of cultivation. Don't worry. I will not kill him. After I ascend the throne, I will confer him the title of Duke. He can still stay in Great Shen. Yan Shuyu said. Ah. You still refuse to realize your error? Zizi said coldly. Refuse to realize my error? This should be mine. Do you think these soldiers can do anything to me? Yan Shuyu said coldly. Yan Shuyu released her aura. Bang! The 1,000 soldiers were sent flying. In the blink of an eye they were sent flying far away. The officials were also sent tumbling to the ground. Yan Shuyu led the old eunuch and the group of black-robed men to stand in the center of the palace and face Zizi. Zizi snorted coldly. Zizi's aura burst out from her body. When Zizi arrived at Divine Sect's sacred grounds, the resources Zizi obtained were countless times more than Yan Shuyu. Moreover, Zizi's physique was incomparably strange. Her cultivation had already reached the lower void realm. The moment the massive aura emerged, it immediately battered Yan Shuyu's aura into disorder. A black-robed person stepped forward, blocking in front of Yan Shuyu. Little girl, you're quite capable. The black-robed man said coldly. Zizi took a step out of the hall. He walked over step by step. Middle void stage? Haha, in other sects, a middle void stage cultivator is an incredible existence. However, in our great Jin Empire, if you dare to cause trouble, even an upper void stage cultivator will have to lie down. Zizi said coldly. Upper void stage? My master was struck by a demonic art and died. Was you? The black-robed man said in shock. As soon as the black-robed man shouted, the other black-robed men also panicked and became alert. Not long ago, an upper void stage martial artist had died inexplicably, and this had already caused everyone to be terrified. Zizi did not waste any more words. With a wave of her hand, a beam of green light shot out from her sleeve. The moment the vine demon appeared, it suddenly split into billions of vines and pounced toward Yan Shuyu and the black-robed men. The old eunuch from before immediately cried out in shock. Oh no! The black-robed men's expressions also changed. At this moment, Yan Shuyu was the only one who remained calm. Boom, boom, boom. The black-robed men immediately rushed into the sky and fled in fear. However, among the black-robed men, the upper void stage cultivator had already been killed by Zizi's Nailhead 7-arrow book. The strongest among them was only a middle void stage cultivator. How could they be a match for the vine demon? Sounds of collisions could be heard in the sky. One by one, the black-robed men were entangled by the vine demon and imprisoned. North of Yanjing, Bai Diqian led Yan Xuan, Feng Yinyang, and the others as they flew quickly. We'll reach Yanjing in 2 days. Bai Diqian said after taking a deep breath. Yan Xuan nodded. Yan Xuan could sense the providence of Great Jin Empire, so he naturally felt the subtle changes in the officials involved in the providence. Yan Shuyu? She still rebelled after all. Yan Xuan took a deep breath and frowned slightly. Chapter 923. 5 days later. Great Jin Dynasty Yanjing Heavenly Prison. 30 to 40 people were locked up in a huge prison. 20 of them were the black-robed men who helped Yan Shuyu in her rebellion 5 days ago. The other 10 were Relic Buddha and the other experts. Relic Buddha, you've been captured as well? How is this possible? How is this possible? One of the black-robed men had his cultivation sealed. Relic Buddha looked at the black-robed man with a bitter expression. Where's your master? Relic Buddha asked. He's dead. He was killed by Yan Xuan's woman using sorcery. Master's death is unclear. The black-robed man said bitterly. Don't worry. His Majesty will definitely come and save us. His Majesty will definitely come. Another black-robed man muttered to himself. Will he? Sigh. Relic Buddha's eyes flashed with despair. We've underestimated Yan Xuan. Kong Susu was so stunning back then. How could her son be weak? We shouldn't have. When Kong Susu died, we should have killed Yan Xuan. We shouldn't have. Relic Buddha said regretfully. Everyone was filled with regret. In the cell next door there were also cries of fear. All the officials who were involved in this rebellion were locked up. After the investigation by the East faction, all the traitors were exposed and captured. All the officials were filled with regret. They were all caught in Jiaohu. However, they couldn't change the fact. There was another small cell next door. In that cell Yan Shuyu looked calm. She sat there quietly without a trace of despair or regret. Quang. The door of the cell opened. Lu Gang led a group of East faction factory guards into the prison. Lord Lu, we were wrong. Lord Lu, please give me a chance. Lord Lu, I'll give you all my assets. Please let me go. Lord Lu, I invited you to the banquet last year. Lord Lu, please let me go. Everyone was shouting for Lu Gang, but Lu Gang's expression was cold. He ignored them. Lu Gang walked to the front of Yan Qiuyu's prison. Open it. Lu Gang shouted. Yes. A few guards quickly opened Yan Qiuyu's prison. Yan Qiuyu, His Majesty has returned. Come with me to meet His Majesty. Lu Gang said. Yan Qiuyu stood up and nodded. Without saying anything, he followed Lu Gang out of the prison. He was escorted out of the prison by 4 guards. The traitorous officials in the prison were all terrified. His Majesty is back? His Majesty is back. Someone exclaimed. Why, I'm a rank 6 official. I have a bright future ahead of me. Why would I want to rebel? Why? An official cried. Yan Chuan's return signified that the dust of this matter had settled, the official's power was gone. At the same time, none of the traitorous officials did not regret it endlessly. But if regret was useful, what was the point of having loss? Yan Qiuyu was taken away. Yanjing Chaotian Palace. In the main hall there were 2 rows of people. One row was made up of De Zhen's courtiers, those who were loyal to Yan Chuan. The other row was made up of the Yan clan's relatives. Those who stood at the front looked calm because they supported Yan Chuan. At the back were Yan Qiuyu's children, who were trembling. Rebellion? Father rebelled? It would have been fine if he had succeeded, but he had failed. Moreover, Yan Chuan had returned. The officials and Yan clan's relatives stood respectfully. Chapter 924. To the north of Chaotian Hall, Yan Chuan sat on the dragon throne, dressed in a black dragon robe and wearing a black jade imperial crown. He held the armrest of the throne and calmly looked down at the officials. Lu Jin stood to the side, holding a horsetail whisk. The hall was filled with a deathly aura. Yan Qiuyu is here, a voice called out from outside the hall. Bring him in. Yan Chuan sternly said. In the great hall, almost all the officials and the Yan family clansmen tensed up as they quietly looked outside the great hall. It was Lu Gang who led them here. Lu Gang walked in the front while 4 factory guards escorted Yan Qiuyu behind him. Your Majesty, Yan Qiuyu is here. Lu Gang respectfully bowed. Following that, Lu Gang dismissed the guards and stood among the officials. At this moment, the 4 commanders were not present, so Lu Gang naturally stood at the first position on the left. Yan Chuan sat on the dragon throne while Yan Qiuyu stood in the middle of the hall. The 2 of them looked at each other. The hall was completely silent. Yan Qiuyu, we have treated you well. Yan Chuan took a deep breath. Yan Chuan had indeed treated Yan Qiuyu well. Marquis Yan? Although it was only a marquis, it was the highest noble title at the time of Great Zhen's founding. Even the founding heroes like Yi Feng, Lu Gang and Huo Guang were only marquises. It wasn't that Yan Chuan didn't want to set up dukes, but that Great Zhen still had a long way to go. They could only be promoted when their merits were sufficient. However, marquis was a lifelong thing. The stronger Great Zhen became, the harder it would be to fight for a marquis. Apart from the emperor and empress, Yan Qiuyu had the advantage of being a blood relative. Even so, Yan Qiuyu still wasn't satisfied. Back then, Yan Qiuyu had given up the throne in exchange for entering the cultivation world. Now that Yan Chuan had given it to him, Yan Qiuyu still betrayed him? Yan Chuan stared at Yan Qiuyu. Yan Qiuyu's emotions were extremely calm. Looking at Yan Chuan, Yan Qiuyu took a deep breath and smiled softly. I knew this day would come. The ministers of Great Zhen looked at Yan Qiuyu in surprise. Looking at Yan Chuan on the dragon throne, Yan Qiuyu bitterly said, in the past, even as an emperor, there would be a day when I would die. That's why I'm afraid of death. In order to step onto the path of cultivation and live forever, I'm willing to give up everything. But when I stepped onto the path of cultivation, I realized that I wasn't pursuing longevity because I was afraid of death. It was because I was afraid of losing my authority. I was afraid of losing the authority that I possessed throughout the world. Yan Qiuyu spoke bitterly. The hall was silent as Yan Chuan stared fixedly at Yan Qiuyu. I lost the throne. At first, although I was unwilling, I also knew that everything was impossible. However, one day a group of people suddenly came to my residence. They were willing to give me power and help me. Moreover, my strength really increased. In my heart, I believed that I could replace you and rule the world for tens of thousands of years. Yan Qiuyu said bitterly. I knew that I would fail, but I still wanted to try. Even if my body was crushed, I still wanted to try. My ambition made me throw caution to the wind. Yan Qiuyu's face suddenly twisted. The officials in the hall glared at Yan Qiuyu. However, Yan Chuan just watched quietly. Ha ha, in the end I failed. You Yan Chuan are indeed stronger than me. Yan Chuyu suddenly laughed bleakly. You thought you would fail? Did you think about the consequences of failure? Yan Chuan asked in a low voice. Yan Chuyu looked at Yan Chuan. Chapter 925. The officials I hired for this rebellion are all ambitious. There's no need to hesitate. Kill them all. Although I used them for this rebellion, if I succeed, I definitely won't put them in important positions. Their crimes are unforgivable. Yan Chuyu's expression was cold. I knew I would fail, so I didn't tell anyone in the Yan clan, including my children. I didn't let them know. It was all my own doing. Yan Chuyu said again. The 100 Yan clan members looked at Yan Chuyu with complicated expressions. Father. Yan Chuyu's children cried and knelt down. Yan Chuyu looked at her children with kindness in her eyes. He turned to look at Yan Chuan again and took out a letter from his bosom. It was sealed with wax. To my son Wudi. I have one last request, Your Majesty. Yan Chuyu said solemnly. But Yan Chuan said in a low voice. This is my will to my son Yan Wudi. When Wudi returns, I beg Your Majesty to give it to him. Yan Chuyu said solemnly. Yan Chuyu's eyes moistened as she read the letter, as if it was her last hope. Lu Jin went to take the letter. Yan Chuyu looked at Lu Jin and didn't say anything else. Instead, she said bitterly. Yan Chuyu deserves death for seizing the throne. Your Majesty, please punish me. Yan Chuyu bowed respectfully. Yan Chuyu's children came forward on their knees after she finished speaking. Your Majesty, please spare my father's life. We are willing to accept the punishment on his behalf. Your Majesty, please spare my father's life for the sake of us being blood relatives. Yan Chuyu's children cried and pleaded. Some of the Yan clan members looked at them with pity. Your Majesty, Yan Chuyu is guilty, but Yan Chuyu has also helped Your Majesty uncover the black sheep of Dajin. Please spare her life and banish her from Dajin. A Yan clan member pleaded. Your Majesty, after all, Yan Chuyu? Another member of the Yan clan pitied her. At this time, Lu Gang suddenly stepped forward. Reporting to Your Majesty, Yan Chuyu attempted to usurp the throne. Her crime is unpardonable and should be executed. Lu Gang shouted. Yan Chuyu should be executed. A group of courtiers shouted. Your Majesty, Yan Chuyu is still your blood relative. Another Yan clan relative pleaded. Your Majesty, you can cripple Yan Chuyu's cultivation and expel him from Great Zhen. I beg Your Majesty to be lenient. Another Yan clan relative knelt down. Several Yan clan relatives knelt down. Lu Gang's eyes turned cold as he spoke again in a clear voice. Your Majesty, Yan Chuyu's crimes are unpardonable and the law is merciless. She must be executed for plotting to usurp the throne. Otherwise, what is the use of Dezhen's laws? How is he going to intimidate the world in the future? Moreover, the Yan clan clansmen who supported Yan Chuyu that day are also guilty and must be punished. Your Majesty, please execute Yan Chuyu and show us the proper punishment. The courtiers shouted in unison. The leaders of the Yan clan clansmen took a deep breath. Your Majesty, regardless of the family law or national law, Yan Chuyu should be executed for his crimes. A Yan clan elder shouted. The courtiers all looked at Yan Chuan. Even Yan Chuyu was looking at Yan Chuan, waiting for Yan Chuan to make a decision. The great hall was silent. Yan Chuan remained silent. After a moment of silence, Yan Chuan said, Yan Chuyu attempted to usurp the throne. She must be executed. May Your Majesty live for 10,000 years. The courtiers immediately knelt down. Your Majesty, please spare my father. Your Majesty, please spare my father for the sake of my brother, Yan Wudi. Your Majesty, I am willing to execute the punishment on behalf of my father. Please allow it. Yan Chuyu's sons and daughters immediately shouted. At that moment, Yan Chuyu did not feel sad. Instead, a trace of gratitude flashed through her eyes as she looked to Yan Chuan. My sons, there's no need to plead for mercy. You killed me well. I deserve to die. Yan Chuyu shouted. Father. Everyone cried. Your Majesty, please grant me the autumn rain sword, Yan Chuyu said respectfully. The autumn rain sword was Yan Chuyu's sword. Everyone seemed to have realized something. Allow it. Yan Chuan said. Lu Jin immediately took out a long sword and handed it to Yan Chuyu. Father. His sons and daughters cried. Yan Chuyu looked at her children with reluctance. Then she looked at the Yan clan clansmen. A deep sense of longing flashed in her eyes. Your Majesty, please take care of the Yan clan. Yan Chuyu shouted. Then the autumn rain sword slashed her own neck. Tisk. With her cultivation sealed, Yen Qiuyu was no different from a mortal. She committed suicide in the Chaotian Palace. Clang! The long sword fell to the ground. Yen Qiuyu also collapsed. Chapter 926. Great Jin Dynasty Yen Capital, Skyward Palace. Yen Qiuyu had committed suicide in front of the palace. Father! Father! Yen Qiuyu's sons and daughters cried as they tried to step forward, but the Yen clan's relatives quickly pulled them away. Yen Qiuyu had usurped the throne and rebelled. No one else had participated, but Yen Qiuyu's sons and daughters could no longer touch Yen Qiuyu. Lu Gang stepped forward again. Your Majesty, on the day of Yen Qiuyu's rebellion, 12 of the Yen clan's relatives were vassals. Your Majesty, please make a decision. Lu Gang said solemnly. As soon as Lu Gang spoke, the Yen clan's relatives frowned and looked over. Plop. In the palace, 7 Yen clan's relatives immediately knelt. Your Majesty, we were muddle-headed at that time. We did not participate in the rebellion. Yen Qiuyu's blade was pointed at us. We did not take a stand. Your Majesty, please be lenient. The Yen clan's relatives did not say anything else. No one could break the country's rules. This was the foundation of a country. Some of the Yen clan's relatives were knowledgeable. Naturally, they would not cause trouble at a time like this. After all, Yen Chuan and the Yen clan's relatives could see the hope of the Yen clan's rise. Who would dare to undermine Yen Chuan at a time like this? On the dragon throne, Yen Chuan's gaze swept across the Yen clan's relatives. The Yen clan's relatives who do not take a stand will be demoted to commoners. Their titles will be demoted by one and passed to their sons. Yen Chuan said. Hearing Yen Chuan's decision, the Yen clan's relatives immediately bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yen Chuan's decision not only upheld the laws of Great Jin, but also took care of the Yen clan's relatives. It was perfect. The Yen clan's relatives were extremely grateful. Yen Chuan looked at the Yen clan's relatives and said, You are all members of the Yen clan. Everyone stood respectfully. My favor to you is limited to this. I hope that you will encourage each other. If the Yen clan produces more talents, do not disappoint me. Yen Chuan said solemnly. Yes, we won't disappoint Your Majesty. The Yen clan clansman responded. He looked at Yen Qiuyu, who was lying on the ground, and then at Yen Qiuyu's sons and daughters. Yen Qiuyu's body will be buried by her children. Yen Chuan issued another edict. Yen Qiuyu's children looked at Yen Chuan with tears streaming down their faces. Yen Chuan was the one who had ordered Yen Qiuyu's death, but Yen Qiuyu had asked for it. For Dajin and the Yen clan, Yen Chuan could not be blamed. Thank you, Your Majesty. Yen Qiuyu's children cried. After the morning assembly, Yen Chuan stood in the square of the heaven-facing hall and looked at the increasing providence in the sky. Rumble. Suddenly the amount of providence increased dramatically. The endless amount of providence rumbled and increased. Towering waves suddenly appeared in Dajin's providence cloud. The waves grew thicker and thicker. In the blink of an eye, the amount nearly doubled. Feng Yinyang stood behind Yen Chuan. He also looked up at the sky. It seems that a mid-tier sect has been destroyed. Feng Yinyang sighed. Yen Chuan nodded and felt relieved. At this moment, Yen Chuan's expression suddenly changed. It's coming? Yen Chuan smiled. What? Feng Yinyang was puzzled. Cover the surroundings with fog. I'm going to transcend the tribulation. Yen Chuan said. Yes. Feng Yinyang quickly activated the array near the imperial city. The fog rose to the sky. Rumble. Rolling dark clouds appeared in the blink of an eye. The 59 Heavenly Tribulation. As soon as the 59 Heavenly Tribulation appeared, the power of heaven pressed down. Countless cultivators in Yanjin were startled. Chapter 927. The palace was shrouded in fog. Someone in the palace is going through a tribulation? A cultivator from Yanjing said in surprise. 59 Heavenly Tribulation? Is it the emperor? Lu Gang, who was outside the palace, was surprised. Roar. Yen Chuan opened his mouth and roared. While Feng Yinyang was shaking his head and sighing, he sucked in the 59 Heavenly Tribulation. The rolling Heavenly Tribulation rushed toward Yen Chuan. As he opened his mouth, he swallowed the Heavenly Tribulation. Others had a slim chance of surviving, but Yen Chuan's tribulation was like a gift from heaven. Rumble. In less than an hour, the 59 Heavenly Tribulation was swallowed by Yen Chuan. The sky was clear again and Yen Chuan was surrounded by lightning. Yen Chuan had broken through again. Middle Void Stage, First Tier. Dazhao Sacred Ground, 5 major sects: Lanyu Sect, Emerald Cloud Sect, Ziyun Sect, Celestial Sect and Fengyang Sect. Lanyu Sect was destroyed by King Gaia's endless zombies. At this moment, Emerald Cloud Sect followed in Lanyu Sect's footsteps. Endless zombies occupied all parts of Emerald Cloud Sect, and all the cultivators were bitten into zombies. Roar! Roar! One by one the zombies roared into the sky. At the same time, Emerald Cloud Sect's virtuous cloud exploded and rolled toward Dazhao Dynasty. Zhu Jiansheng, the great swordsman, and the others looked at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. A middle-level sect, a middle-level sect. It actually collapsed just like that? Zhu Jiansheng muttered to himself in shock. The 3 swordsmen held a small empty bottle in his hand. This small bottle of source poison is so powerful? The 3 swordsmen were shocked. Not far away, Yi Feng waved the Emperor's sword in his hand. Emperor's sword, purify the weak zombies. Yi Feng said in a deep voice. Buzz. The Emperor's sword flew out and scattered endless white light. As the white light gushed out, the rolling zombies fell to the ground, leaving behind a group of zombies with high cultivation. Sir? What do we do now? Zhu Jiansheng immediately stepped forward. The Blue Cloud Sect is close to the Purple Cloud Sect. Manipulate the zombies and head towards the Purple Cloud Sect. Yi Feng shouted. Yes. The group of experts immediately responded. The zombie army was marching towards the Purple Cloud Sect. Fengyang Sect. Jin Deyu was the first sect to be recruited. A purple-robed old man stood at the entrance of the main hall of the sect's main peak, waiting anxiously. Xiao. A white light shot over first. How is it? The purple-robed elder was the first to ask. It was a white-robed cultivator. His face was filled with panic as he said, Senior Marshal Brother, it's not good. At this moment, a group of experts quickly gathered around. Everyone stared at him. Junior brother, you went to the Blue Cloud Sect. How is the Blue Cloud Sect now? The purple-robed old man asked. The white-robed cultivator said bitterly, Azure Cloud Sect, when I went, it was already destroyed. The Great Jin army is currently attacking the Purple Cloud Sect. How is that possible? How long has it been? Did the Great Jin army take down the Blue Cloud Sect so quickly? This doesn't make sense. The purple-robed old man said. Zombies like the Blue Tranquil Sect are zombies. The Great Jin dynasty has the ability to control zombies. The white-robed cultivator said bitterly. Zombies? Everyone was shocked. Senior Marshal Brother, let's make a decision quickly. The Blue Cloud Sect is destroyed and the Purple Cloud Sect must be in danger. Senior Marshal Brother, please make a decision. The white-robed cultivator said. The purple-robed old man's eyes were filled with uncertainty. After thinking for a while, he suddenly made up his mind. Everyone, let's submit to the Great Jin dynasty. The purple-robed old man took a deep breath and said. Senior Marshal Brother, why? Let's wait a little longer. The other Junior Marshal Brothers' news will come soon. Let's wait a little longer. Some Junior Marshal Brothers went to the Great Zhao Holy Land. Let's wait a little longer. Yes, Senior Marshal Brother, let's wait a little longer. Even if the result is not good, we can just rebuild the sect. Yes, even if we fight for the Tiansu and rebuild the sect, it's better than submitting to the Great Jin dynasty. Everyone was talking at once. Everyone? The purple-robed old man suddenly shouted. Everyone looked at the purple-robed old man. The East Divine Continent is about to change greatly. Even if you don't want to admit it, it's an indisputable fact. Everyone knows how big the Great Jin dynasty is this time. Rebuild the sect? Do you think it's easy to fight for the Tiansu in this chaotic world? Even the Julu Academy can't take care of itself when the time comes. If we don't seize the opportunity now, our Fengyang sect is very likely to disband. Many of our disciples will become independent cultivators and become sacrificial lambs in the chaos of the East Divine Continent. The purple-robed old man shouted. Everyone's expression changed. Quick, if we join the Great Jin dynasty now, it'll be considered a meritorious service. Moreover, if we help the Great Jin dynasty pacify the various borders in this war, our Fengyang sect's disciples will have outstanding merits even in the Great Jin dynasty. I've studied the Great Jin dynasty and value merits greatly. Even if we join the Great Jin dynasty, we can quickly stabilize ourselves and not be at the bottom. The purple-robed old man shouted. Quick, we must be quick. The purple-robed old man said solemnly. Everyone looked at the purple-robed old man with furrowed brows. Senior brother, I believe in you. Senior brother is the wisest among us. Even when the sect master was still alive, senior brother was the one who resolved the many dangers that the sect faced. I support you. The first person said. Senior brother, I support you too. The Fengyang sect made a decision that shocked countless sections. Submit to the Great Jin dynasty. Alright, junior brothers, will split into two groups. One group will inform all the disciples and quickly subdue the weaker sects around us. Let the Fengyang sect and the nearby subordinate sects all belong to the Great Jin dynasty. The other group will go to the Heavenly Star sect and help Jin Dayu reclaim the Heavenly Star sect. As for me, I'll immediately head to the Yen capital to hand over the official letter. The purple-robed old man ordered. Yes. The upper echelons of the Fengyang sect quickly moved together. Rumble. The providence of the Great Jin dynasty in the Yen capital was increasing at a visible rate every day. The people of the Yen capital were unusually excited. Everyone could feel the powerful atmosphere. The Yen capital had become stronger. The Great Jin dynasty had become stronger. Feng Guang of the Fengyang sect greets the emperor. Long live the emperor. The purple-robed cultivator of the Fengyang sect had already rushed to the Yen capital. Good Feng Guang. Feng Guang, since the Fengyang sect has surrendered to Dezhen, I will not mistreat the disciples of Dezhen. Dezhen's eastern factory has already sent a large number of factory guards to your Fengyang sect's territory. Since you have surrendered to Dezhen, they have already started recording your achievements. Yen Chuan helped Feng Guang up. Thank you, your majesty. Feng Guang said gratefully. Feng Guang understood that his submission had a greater meaning. He wanted to set an example for the world, so Yen Chuan wouldn't mistreat the disciples of the Fengyang sect. Only the disciples of the Fengyang sect would receive preferential treatment. When the Great Jin dynasty attacked in the future, there would be fewer people who stubbornly resisted. Chapter 928. In the Great Zhao Holy Land, one of the 5 great vassal sects, the Purple Cloud sect. The Purple Cloud sect's virtuous cloud sect had completely collapsed. Endless merit points rushed to the Great Jin dynasty. The Purple Cloud sect was completely destroyed. Yi Feng controlled the God Sword to carry out the final purification of the zombies. One by one the zombies were purified. Their souls bowed gratefully to Yi Feng before entering the netherworld. Naturally, since the netherworld of the sealed world had disappeared, the zombies could only enter the netherworld of the celestial realm. A group of soldiers from the Great Jin dynasty used a secret technique to control the zombies. Zhu Jiansheng and the others stood behind Yi Feng. My lord, why are you purifying them all? Since the zombies are so powerful, can't we keep them to attack cities in the future? Zhu Jiansheng asked curiously. Yi Feng shook his head and said, the emperor said that this is the lowest grade of origin poison. It can only last for 3 months. In other words, after 3 months these zombies will die at the same time. It can't be recycled at all. Otherwise, who in the world can fight against the zombies? Zhu Jiansheng nodded. It's going to be 3 months soon. These zombies will soon be completely dead. To be able to destroy 2 middle-level sects within 3 months, we can be considered to have accomplished our mission. Yi Feng said with satisfaction. Then what should we do next? Should we join forces with the other legions? There's no need for that. Let's return to the capital. The second legion has completed their mission. Let's return to the capital and wait for the Great Jin dynasty to advance to the imperial dynasty. Yi Feng said solemnly. Understood. At the same time, the God Sword purified countless zombies. The vitality that the God Sword deprived was quickly transferred to Yen Chuan's body through a mysterious connection. Yen Chuan's birth chart power was rising rapidly. Yen Chuan was certain that his birth chart power, which had just advanced to the first level of the middle void stage, would rise rapidly again. Heavenly Star Sect. Dong, dong. The sound of a bell reverberated in the air. Jin Yu held the gate of heaven in his hand as he looked down at the cultivators. When the disciples of the Fengyang sect arrived to assist Jin Dayu, the Heavenly Star sect's virtuous cloud had already shattered, and the virtuous cloud surged towards the Great Jin dynasty. The disciples of the Heavenly Star sect fled in all directions, while the experts were all severely injured by Jin Dayu. Once the primal chaos rang out, its might was vast. Countless mountains in the surroundings were also reduced to dust. My lord, the Fengyang sect has officially submitted to the Great Jin Empire. My senior brother has already gone to the Yen capital to pay his respects to the emperor. A disciple of the Fengyang sect immediately said. Jin Dayu nodded and turned to look at the Heavenly Star sect disciples. Everyone listen up. The Celestial Star sect has already collapsed, and there is no more Celestial Star sect in this world. Now this Lord will give all of you one more chance. Join my great accomplishment, and I will ask the Emperor to allow all of you to join my third legion. Jin Dayu shouted. The experts of the Heavenly Star sect felt extremely bitter. Jingming had just ascended, right? The Heavenly Star sect was destroyed in the blink of an eye? We are willing to enter the great perfection. I am willing to join. Me too. Jin Dayu had subdued another group of experts. My lord, what should we do now? A disciple of the Fengyang sect asked. Rendezvous with the great Jin dynasty's first legion and uproot the last sect. Jin Dayu shouted. Understood. 5 months later. The World Margin sect. The World Margin sect was located in the north of the great Jin dynasty. It was one of the 2 major sects that the First Legion was attacking. To the north was the Great Zhao Holy Land, to the east was the sea, and to the west was the Fengyang sect. To the south was the Great Jin dynasty, which was separated by a mid-level sect. Chapter 929. The leader of the World Margin sect, Hong Yan. In the past, when the Great Jin Empire annihilated the Great Winged Heaven School, in order to deal with Jin Dayu, they asked the leaders of the 5 great sects for help. Although the leaders of the 5 great sects extorted a large sum of money from them, Yan Xuan didn't care. The World Margin sect's Hong Yan was one of the 5 experts who had besieged Jin Dayu. World Margin sect, World Margin Hall. The upper echelons of the World Margin sect had gathered. Hong Yan's expression was extremely complicated. Among the group of World Margin sect's experts in front of him, there were 4 Middle Emptiness Realm experts and nearly 100 Lower Emptiness Realm experts. The hall was completely silent. Hong Yan clenched his fists, his brows furrowed. Sect leader, the Great Jin Empire is too ruthless. The troops they sent this time are too terrifying. A Middle Void Stage expert's expression was extremely unsightly. That's right, sect leader. The enemy sect to the south, the Eastwood sect, was defeated by the commander of the Great Jin Empire's First Legion. Guang? This nobody could have imagined that he would grow too quickly. He even has Yan Xuan's Jade Emperor Sword. Once the Jade Emperor Sword formation was used, countless experts died under the Jade Emperor Sword. The Eastwood sect was careless and completely collapsed. Another Middle Void Stage expert took a deep breath and said, That's right. The Eastwood sect leader didn't take Guang seriously in the beginning. He didn't gather the experts of the various cities and didn't activate the defensive formation. In the end, more than half of the Eastwood sect's disciples were killed or injured, and even more people fled in all directions. The Eastwood sect is no more. Of course, Guang's First Legion also suffered heavy casualties. However, Guang wasn't satisfied. He actually led his army and headed towards our sect. Hong Yan's expression was extremely unsightly. He shook his head and laughed bitterly. Everyone, perhaps you still don't know. The Great Jin Empire's Second Legion destroyed the Azure Cloud sect and the Purple Cloud sect. The Third Legion destroyed the Sealing Sun sect and the Celestial Star sect. Moreover, the Third Legion is very likely to come from the west. Hong Yan laughed bitterly. What? Everyone's expression changed. These 4 were Middle Void sects. They were all destroyed? The hall was instantly filled with clamor. Fear, panic, and shock. Dezhen's strength was beyond everyone's understanding. The 4 middle-level sects were all middle-level sects. In such a short period of time, the entire army was wiped out. Even if Jingting ascended, the East Divine Continent still has the Dazhao Holy Ground. Isn't the Dazhao Holy Ground too arrogant? Isn't the Dazhao Holy Ground suppressing them? A cultivator said in a low voice. Hong Yan smiled bitterly and said, Everyone, do you know the flag of the Great Accomplishment 4th Legion that we have erected in the north? The hall suddenly fell silent. According to the information I obtained, the commander of the 4th Army is Meng Wenrua. Meng Wenrua has been in the Great Zhao for a very long time and knows a lot of things about the Great Zhao. Meng Wenrua schemed against the cities of the Great Zhao Holy Land. In addition to the convenience arranged by Mo Yushi in the past, about 1/3 of the cities in the Great Zhao Holy Land were plundered by Meng Wenrua in one go. At this moment, it should be coming to an end. No, it's even possible that the 4th Legion is heading towards our World Margin sect. Hong Yan said bitterly. There was complete silence in the hall. 1/3 of the Great Zhao Holy Land's territory? 1/3? What kind of concept was that? The East Divine Continent has changed greatly. Another Middle Void Realm expert said bitterly. Yin Chuan? Who would have thought that this Yin Chuan is actually so powerful? The great Jin is actually so valiant. If I had known, I wouldn't have helped him destroy the great winged heaven school. Hong Yin said bitterly. In the hall, the hearts of the experts were heavy. Sect Master, can we negotiate peace with the great Jin dynasty? A cultivator asked. Chapter 930. Hong Yin smiled and said, Our world margin sect faces the sea to the east and is surrounded by the Great Jin Empire on the other three sides. Moreover, the Great Jin Empire's army is flourishing. Do you think that they will have a meeting at this time? The hall fell silent again. Report. A voice suddenly came from outside the hall. A cultivator quickly rushed into the hall. Sect Master, the Great Jin Empire's army has arrived. The army has arrived at the sect. The cultivator reported. Everyone in the hall immediately frowned. Quickly activate the mountain guarding array. The cultivator's Jiaohu shouted. Hong Yin led a group of experts and slowly stepped out of the World Margin Hall. Standing in the square of the World Margin Hall, one could see the long army in the south. The army was still on the way, but Huo Guang was the first to arrive. Great Jin Empire's first army commander, Huo Guang, greets Sect Master Hong. Huo Guang shouted as he stepped on a ferocious tiger. Dong. A bell suddenly rang from the west. Jin Dayu led the experts he had subdued from the two middle-level sects and arrived at the World Margin sect. Great Jin Empire's third army commander, Jin Dayu, greets Sect Master Hong. Sect Master Hong, I have never forgotten that I was attacked by 4 middle-level Void Realm experts and was injured. Sect Master Hong, how have you been? Jin Dayu sneered. Roar. A tiger roar suddenly came from the north of the World Margin sect. Meng Wenrua stepped on the head of a ferocious tiger, followed by a group of tiger tribe experts and some Confucian scholars. Great Jin Empire's fourth army commander, Meng Wenrua, greets Sect Master Hong. Meng Wenrua said with a smile. More and more experts gathered. The mountain guarding array around the World Margin sect was fully activated. Under the huge shield, countless experts did not feel safe at all. Many of them were even drenched in cold sweat. Sect Master, I have already notified the 100 cities under our control. A large number of cultivators will come to assist us. A World Margin sect disciple said softly. 100 cities and a large number of cultivators coming? Hong Yin smiled bitterly. Shaking his head, Hong Yin took a deep breath. Lord Hua, Lord Jin, Lord Meng, may I know why you three have come? Hong asked. Huo Guang took out an imperial edict. On the orders of the emperor, I've come to announce the recruitment of the World Margin sect. World Margin sect, Hong Yin, receive the imperial edict. Huo Guang shouted while holding the imperial edict. Receive the imperial edict? Once they accepted the edict, it meant that the World Margin sect was willing to submit to the Great Jin Empire. Countless disciples of the World Margin sect were enraged. However, if he didn't accept the decree, it would be an official declaration of war. Although Hong Yin was only at the middle void stage, as long as he mobilized the virtuous cloud's energy of virtue, Hong Yan's strength could rise to the upper void stage in a short time. It was just like how Yin Chuan used the golden dragon of providence. Upper void stage? Hong Yin looked at Jin Dayu with bitterness in his eyes. It would have been fine if he hadn't known about the Great Jin dynasty's military achievements. However, he now knew that the Great Jin dynasty had already destroyed 5 middle sections. Now, all the armies had gathered and were pressing against the World Margin sect. At this moment, could he resist? Behind Jin Dayu, there were 5 or 6 middle void stage cultivators that he knew. Jin Dayu was even at the upper void stage. Huo Guang's strength had also reached the middle void stage. The World Margin sect was besieged on all sides. They were at a dead end and had no strong reinforcements. Could they resist? Sect Master, let's fight with them. Sect Master, I'm not afraid of death. The disciples weren't afraid of the Great Jin Empire, but some of them showed fear. Hong Yin smiled bitterly. World Margin sect, Hong Yin, is willing to lead the World Margin sect to submit to the Great Jin Empire and receive the Emperor's edict. Hong Yin shouted. Chapter 931. Dajin Empire, Yanjing, Upper Study Room. Yan Chuan sat behind his desk while Yi Feng and Lu Gang stood in front of him. Lu Jin stood respectfully at the side. Yan Chuan held a memorial in his hand and read it carefully. Your Majesty, news from the Dazhao Holy Ground. Yao Qianshang's previous life, Ju, killed 4 Upper Void Realm experts with a single slash. He was the strongest man 30,000 years ago. Lu Gang said. Jew. Yin Chuan's face turned serious. The strongest man in the world, the meaning behind this title was too deep. The strongest man in the world, Jing Ming. The strongest man 10,000 years ago, Knife Demon. The strongest man 20,000 years ago, Dugu Budian. The strongest man 30,000 years ago, Ju? The strongest man 50,000 years ago, Dongfang Bubi? Every strongest man in the world not only represented their strength, but also represented a great era. Jing Ming had just left and Ju had returned? Yi Feng. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Your Majesty. You are in charge of collecting all information about Yao Tianshang and Ju. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Yes. Yi Feng replied. Your Majesty, news from the East Faction Guard said that when Mohina Dojin was facing Kong Mok's subordinates, he merged with a black lotus and turned into a powerful monster. The monster had a pair of horns on its head and evil aura filled the sky. Mohina Dojin's strength was also abnormally strong. At that time he did not use the Dazhao Holy Ground and only fought with his evil body. Both sides suffered heavy losses. Kong Mok's subordinates were all heavily injured, and 2 Upper Void Realm experts and 14 Middle Void Realm experts died. Lu Gang said. Looking at the memorial in his hand, Yin Chuan smiled faintly and said, It is written in the memorial. I saw it. Mohina Dojin was heavily injured, and Kong Mok's subordinates were also heavily injured. 2 Upper Void Realm experts even died. Kong Mok was really unlucky in the East Divine Continent. Your Majesty, Kong Mok retreated from the Dazhao Holy Land. Although he was severely injured, he should be able to recover soon. I'm worried that. Lu Gang said with a solemn expression. Yin Chuan's face darkened as he said, Don't worry about it. Not just anyone can barge into my Beijing. Yes. Lu Gang secretly exhaled. Boom. Right at this moment, the sea of karmic luck surged once more. Boundless luck surged and soared into the sky. Although Yin Chuan and the others did not go out, they could still feel the sudden change in luck. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The World's Edge sect has surrendered without a fight. Yi Feng immediately guessed the result and congratulated. If it was obtained through battle, the providence would slowly increase. But now it had suddenly skyrocketed. This meant that the World Margin sect would be wiped out instantly. Jin Dayu and Hua Guang probably did not have the ability to do so. It could only be said that the World Margin sect had surrendered. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The Great Jin Dynasty's territory is already the largest in the East Divine Continent. It's even larger than the Dazhao Holy Land. Lu Gang said excitedly. Yin Chuan nodded in satisfaction and said, Lu Jin. Old slave is here. Lu Jin said respectfully. Prepare the altar. The Great Jin Dynasty is going to advance into an imperial dynasty. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Yes. Lu Jin said excitedly. At the same time, Yi Feng and Lu Gang both revealed looks of joy. World's Edge Sect. Ever since the World's Edge Sect master Hong Yen announced his surrender to the Great Jin Dynasty, the sea of karmic luck suddenly collapsed and flowed toward the Great Jin Dynasty. Inside the World's Edge Palace, Hong Yen led 4 Middle Void Realm cultivators of the World's Edge Sect to receive Hua Guang, Jin Diyu, and Meng Wenrua. Greetings, Your Majesties. Hong Yen said solemnly. Mr. Hong, you're too humble. Since you're able to take charge of a Middle Realm sect, you must have extraordinary skills and abilities. The Great Jin Dynasty urgently needs talents like you. Meng Wenrua said with a smile. Chapter 932. You're too kind, Lord Meng. I'm not worthy. Hong Yen said humbly. You're worthy, Mr. Hong. Our emperor is thirsty for talents. With Mr. Hong joining us, Dezhen will definitely prosper. Do you have any expectations? Meng Wenrua said with a smile as he waved his feather fan. Hong Yen smiled and said, I've studied Dezhen's system for some time. I hope that the 3 of you can let me contribute more to Dezhen, so that I won't be a lowly subject when I enter Dezhen. Meng Wenrua, Jin Dayu, and Hua Guang looked at each other and nodded in agreement. Hua Guang said, Since that's the case, you'll first gather all the disciples who are willing to join Dezhen. Then you'll follow me to reorganize the troops. Together with me, Lord Meng and Lord Jin, we'll consolidate the surrounding cities. Once the territory here is stabilized, you'll follow us to Yanjin to meet the emperor. Okay. Hong Yen accepted the task. Countries and sects had different attitudes towards cities. Countries operated cities to strengthen their borders. As for the sects, they operated the cities for the sake of spirit stones. Therefore, although they had conquered a large number of cities, the system of the cities had to be changed. Moreover, the garrison of each city had to be more standardized. This was also the reason why the three commanders could not return to Dezhen. Hua Guang was in charge of the army, Meng Wenrua was in charge of politics, and Jin Diyu was in charge of dealing with any accidents. In a mountain forest in Dezhen's territory, Kong Mok sat cross-legged. His hands were suffused with black evil qi and his face was pale. As he channeled his energy, the evil qi in his hands was slowly being forced out. Finally, all the evil qi was forced out, and his face was much rosier. There were 80 experts sitting beside him, each of them suffusing black qi. Kong Mok stood up and his face was extremely ugly. Not far away, the Longmo was waiting quietly. Kong Mok pressed his palm on the back of an expert. Whoosh! Black qi suddenly emerged from the expert's body. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Kong Mok repeated the process and helped the experts expel the evil qi in their bodies. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Everyone bowed. Mohina Dojin? Myriad wondered demonic lotus? Kong Moku's face darkened. "Your Majesty, this trip to the East Divine Continent can be said to have suffered heavy losses. 6 Upper Void Realm cultivators died, and the Saraira Buddha's whereabouts are unknown. Also, I don't know how the primordial Tao Buddha in the Yen capital is now." An expert said bitterly. "Buddha of the primordial path? Didn't you hear about it when you came here? The great Jin imperial dynasty dispatched troops everywhere and already broke through quite a few sections. The origin Tao Buddha definitely didn't succeed." Kong Mok said with a gloomy expression. "What should we do now?" Everyone looked at Kong Mok. "Since we can't control the great perfection, then forget it. We'll go destroy the great perfection now and seize its providence to make up for our losses." Kong Mok said solemnly. "Yes." Everyone replied. Everyone mounted the dragon horse together. "Let's go," Kong Mok shouted. The group of people rode on their dragon horses and headed south to Yanjing. Great Jin Dynasty Yanjing. Inside the imperial city. In the sky, surging providence churned endlessly. Below, hundreds of officials stood respectfully in the square of the heavenly hall. On the square there was a huge platform. Lu Jin stood on the platform, holding a horsetail whisk in her hand as she looked at the sky. "It's time," Lu Jin shouted. Clang. The door of the heavenly hall opened with a bang. The officials bowed respectfully at the entrance of the heavenly hall. Yin Chuan, dressed in a dragon robe and a flat imperial crown, stepped out in an extremely grand manner. Chapter 933. Long live the Emperor. The officials congratulated him. Under the respectful gazes of the officials, Yin Chuan walked towards the high platform step by step. Yifeng, Feng Yinyang, Lu Gang and the others were among the officials. Not far from the skyward hall, Bai Ditian was also watching this scene. Yin Chuan walked up the platform, which was a huge altar. He took the investiture of the gods and the great heavenly seal and placed them on the jade table on the altar. "Kneel to the heavens," Lu Jin shouted. Yin Chuan waved his dragon robe and knelt on the futon. Roar! Above the Providence clouds, the golden dragon of Providence suddenly roared. Boom! The golden dragon of Providence swooped down and opened its mouth to bite the investiture of the gods. It grabbed the great heavenly seal with its claws. Roar! The golden dragon of Providence carried the investiture of the gods and the great heavenly seal and soared into the sky. Bow! Lu Jin shouted. Yin Chuan bowed to the heavens. Bow again. Yin Chuan bowed again. Bow thrice. Yin Chuan bowed thrice. Rise! Lu Jin shouted again. Yin Chuan waved his dragon robe and stood up gently. Lu Jin bowed respectfully to Yin Chuan and then slowly retreated from the huge altar. When the great Jin dynasty was established, Lu Jin had also shouted this. However, at that time she had not only bowed to the heavens but also to the earth. However, now that the dynasty had become an imperial dynasty, she had stopped bowing to the earth. She bowed to the heavens and not the earth. Roar! A loud dragon roar came from below the heavens. As the dragon roar spread, the entire sea of Providence clouds seemed to churn violently. Roar! In the sky, the golden dragon of Providence descended again. Boom! The golden dragon of Providence fell into the sea of Providence clouds. For a moment, the sea of Providence seemed to shrink rapidly. Surging Providence rushed into the golden dragon of Providence. One could vaguely see that the golden dragon of Providence had taken on a corporeal form. It radiated golden light in all directions and was extremely domineering. Above the Sea of Providence, the investiture of the gods and the great stabilizing heavenly seal slowly descended towards Yen Chuan. Both of them emitted a faint colorful light. Apparently, they had been given new karmic titles by God after they had soared to the ninth heaven. But the two trembled slightly. Yen Chuan took a deep breath. Instead, he turned to look at the Sea of Providence. The success or failure of the Golden Dragon of Providence was the most important thing. Boom. The Sea of Providence shrunk by nearly half. Endless providence poured into the Golden Dragon of Providence. An hour later. Ong. Above the Sea of Providence clouds, a dragon's roar shook the heavens. The roar shot into the 9 heavens, shaking the endless clouds in the surroundings to the point that they were instantly shattered. There was not a single cloud in sight for thousands of kilometers. The Golden Dragon of Providence appeared in front of everyone once again. The Golden Dragon seemed to have taken on a corporeal form. Its entire body exuded vigorous energy. Its body became 10,000 feet long, and its horns were much more prominent. Most importantly, its claws changed from the original 5-clawed golden dragon to the 9-clawed golden dragon. The 9-clawed golden dragon of the Imperial Dynasty? Yen Chuan smiled in satisfaction. Ong. The 9-clawed golden dragon raised its head and roared. As it roared, endless golden light shot out and instantly shot towards all the officials of the Great Jin Dynasty. For a moment, countless officials suddenly felt a powerful surge of providence descending upon them. The officials of Great Jin all felt a great amount of providence descending upon them. They all felt their pores open. Many of them even felt that the shackles of their cultivation had been instantly broken. Lu Gang and the other officials were all overjoyed. From today onwards, Great Jin, a country under the Imperial Dynasty, will be promoted to Imperial Dynasty China, the Great Jin Imperial Dynasty. Receiving the mandate of heaven, I shall live a long and prosperous life. Yen Chuan shouted in satisfaction. Long live the Great Jin Imperial Dynasty. May your Majesty live for 10,000 years. May your Majesty live for 10,000 years. Chapter 934. Great Jin Empire North. Inside a large hall. Meng Wenrua was dealing with some government affairs when a golden light shot into his body. Whoosh! A breeze blew around Meng Wenrua, causing the pages to flutter. Providence? Is this the Imperial Empire? Meng Wenrua sighed. Meng Wenrua stood up and stepped out of the hall. Outside the hall, a group of scholars looked at Meng Wenrua. Lord, I can feel that our providence has increased. A scholar exclaimed. Meng Wenrua nodded and smiled. My lord, did His Majesty promote the Great Jin Empire to an imperial empire? The scholar asked excitedly. Meng Wenrua nodded, then shook his head. Remember, Great Jin is now an imperial empire. Many rules and systems have changed. Don't call him emperor anymore, call him your Majesty. Yes. The scholar nodded. Go and do your work. Meng Wenrua said. Yes. After the scholar left, Meng Wenrua looked to the south. Imperial Empire? Imperial Empire's providence is stronger than Julu Academy's? Julu Academy has always been thinking of ways to increase their providence, but has never succeeded? 1 life, 2 luck, 3 feng shui, 4 virtues and 5 studies? 5 studies? Is the purpose of studying just to be sold to the royal family? Meng Wenrua frowned. Julu Academy had thought of many ways, but their providence had never increased. But Great Jin Empire's providence had surpassed Julu Academy's in a short time. Meng Wenrua even understood that there was a celestial empire above the imperial empire. Once they reached the celestial empire, their providence would increase by another level, just like the great tragedy celestial empire in southern divine continent. Great Jin Empire, everyone rejoices. Meng Wenrua smiled. Julu Academy? On a high platform. Dean Yui looked at Meng Lingtian. Meng Lingtian, however, looked to the northeast. His expression changed slightly. Senior, now that you have the body of an immortal, you can also step out of this world. If Julu Academy is under your control, it will definitely prosper. Senior, please take control of Julu Academy. Louis said solemnly. Meng Lingtian shook his head. No need. Yui, do you feel it? Meng Lingtian asked solemnly. What? Yui asked doubtfully. Looks like you can't feel it. Meng Lingtian shook his head. Senior, what happened? Yui asked curiously. That's the Great Jin Dynasty in the northeast, right? Meng Lingtian asked in a deep voice. That's right, the Great Jin Empire also has providence. Meng Lingtian took a deep breath and said, "Right now, the Great Jin Dynasty's providence is even greater than the Julu Academies." "What? How is that possible?" Yue said in surprise. "I remember that Meng Wenrua is currently an official in Great Jin?" Meng Lingtian asked curiously. "Yes, your great-great-grandson. His position in the Great Jin Empire isn't light. He's the commander of the 4th Legion." Lui nodded. "Send someone to take a look," Meng Lingtian said. "Yes." Great Jin Empire, Yanjing. When Great Jin became an imperial dynasty, the officials instantly felt a boundless amount of fate descending upon them. That was the benefit of Great Jin. With providence on their bodies, cultivation became more convenient. Some of the less talented people, such as Yi Feng and Lu Gang, instantly tripled their cultivation speed. Moreover, everyone understood that as long as Great Jin became stronger, the providence on their bodies would increase. Yin Chuan's training hall. The sword of God was placed on his knees. The hall was filled with countless spirit stones. Rumble. Under the powerful suction force, the qi of heaven and earth in the spirit stones surged into Yin Chuan's body. Chapter 935. After purifying countless zombies, the power of his birth chart skyrocketed. At this moment, a large amount of heaven and earth essence energy entered Yin Chuan's body and madly strengthened his cultivation base. First level of the middle void stage. Second level of the middle void stage. Third level of the middle void stage. Fourth level of the middle void stage. Fifth level of the middle void stage. It only stopped when it reached the 5th level of the middle void stage. God's sword? It's almost on par with the Emperor's sword in my past life. The Grand Emperor's sword accompanied my body in my past life. I wonder if my coffin is still there. Yin Chuan smiled bitterly. Yin Chuan smiled bitterly. Suddenly Yin Chuan's eyes narrowed. Oh? Yin Chuan's expression darkened. Following that, Yin Chuan slowly closed his eyes again. At the same time, in the Great Jin Imperial Dynasty, the 9-clawed golden dragon that was hovering above the Sea of Providence suddenly opened its eyes. Roar! The 9-clawed golden dragon of Great Jin suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Countless cultivators in all directions of Yen capital looked up. They saw a powerhouse in the sky was sent flying by the 9-clawed golden dragon's tail. Boom! A powerhouse was sent flying. Above the Sea of Providence, the 9-clawed golden dragon's eyes narrowed. It was Yin Chuan's eyes. Yin Chuan controlled the golden dragon of Providence with his soul. The 9-clawed golden dragon looked coldly at Emperor Imoku, who was riding on a dragon horse with 80 powerhouses. Each of them was aggressive and filled with battle intent. The 9-clawed golden dragon stared at Kong Imoku. Both of them looked at each other coldly. Bai Ditian, Yi Feng, Lu Gang, and the others quickly rushed out of their respective halls and arrived at the Skyward Hall Square. Kong Imoku, the 9-clawed golden dragon said coldly. Kong Imoku looked at the 9-clawed golden dragon with narrowed eyes. 9-clawed golden dragon? Imperial dynasty? Yin Chuan, you're really lucky. Kong Imoku said with a gloomy expression. The 9-clawed golden dragon scratched the Sea of Providence and looked down at Kong Mok. Kong Mok? Are you declaring war against the Great Jin Empire in the name of the Great Buddha Empire? The 9-clawed golden dragon shouted coldly. Haha, it's good that you know. That Jin Dayu is still in the north, right? The only upper void realm cultivator in the Swallow capital is Bai Ditian. Let's see how you are going to stop me. I really shouldn't have been merciful to you back then. Kong Mok said with a cold light in his eyes. Be merciful to me? You really have the cheek to say that? Back then, if I didn't die, I would have exchanged my father and mother's life for theirs. They died unwillingly and I will avenge them. Wash your neck and wait. As for now, scram. With a dragon roar, the 9-clawed golden dragon unleashed a vast oppressive dragon aura. The dragon's might was so strong that it forced the group of dragon horses to retreat. Kong Mok snorted coldly and blocked the dragon's might. How dare you? Slaughter the city and leave no one alive. Kong Mok snorted coldly. Bai Ditian's expression changed and he was about to step out. Bai Ditian, you don't have to do anything. The 9-clawed golden dragon shouted. Huh. Bai Ditian looked at the 9-clawed golden dragon in confusion. This is the Great Jin Empire and the Swallow capital. This is my home ground. I might not be able to kill Kong Mok, but I can protect myself. None of them can touch the Swallow capital. The 9-clawed golden dragon snorted coldly. Feng Yin Yang. The 9-clawed golden dragon shouted. Yes. Feng Yinyang shouted. Ong, 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 ong. Under Feng Yinyang's control, the endless mountains and rivers around the Swallow capital rumbled loudly. Under the loud rumbling, the power of the dragon veins rushed into the sky. Chapter 936. The power of the dragon meridian soared into the sky. It didn't enter the nine-clawed golden dragon. Instead, it turned into balls of light that surrounded the nine-clawed golden dragon like stars. The balls of light soared into the sky like stars in the sky. The stars surrounded the nine-clawed golden dragon. The nine-clawed golden dragon looked like the supreme power of the heavens. Made people flinch. However, as soon as Kong Mok gave the order, 80 powerhouses soared into the sky. 14 upper void stage cultivators and 66 middle void stage cultivators charged toward Yanjin with a ferocious aura. Among them, 5 of the upper void stage cultivators stood in the sky and slashed down with their energy sabers. Under the attack of the energy sabers, a storm rose in the void. The 5 energy sabers slashed down like 5 heavenly swords. The 9-clawed golden dragon glared and stepped forward. Stellar cycle. The 9-clawed golden dragon shouted coldly. The endless stars of dragon chi that surrounded the 9-clawed golden dragon suddenly charged toward the 5 energy sabers. Whoosh! Feng Yinyang protected the area below Yanjin with an array formation. It was not affected by the storm raging in the sky. However, countless people could see it clearly. Thousands of stars swirled around the saber as it shot forward. In an instant, the saber of the upper void realm exploded with a loud bang. Bam! The attacks of the 5 upper void stage cultivators were all shattered. The 5 middle void stage experts at the very front also instantly charged into the heavenly cycle of stars. The endless stars of dragon chi twisted violently. The huge twisting force squeezed the 5 middle void stage cultivators. Ah! The 5 of them shouted in shock. They each took out their Dharma treasures and formed a shield to protect themselves. Bam! 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 Under the strangling power of the heavenly cycle constellation, even if one used a magic treasure to protect himself, it would still explode instantly. Blood mist rose into the sky. The 5 middle void stage cultivators were killed in an instant. The 9-clawed golden dragon charged toward the upper void stage cultivator at the front. The upper void stage cultivator slashed at the 9-clawed golden dragon. Clang! The 9-clawed golden dragon exploded with golden light. Under the dazzling golden light, the blade only left a shallow scar on the dragon's scales. When the golden light dissipated, the golden dragon's claw grabbed the practitioner's leg. Ah! The upper void stage expert roared in shock. However, it was already too late. The 9-clawed golden dragon had already clawed at his upper body. Senior brother? A Xiozhi in the distance exclaimed in shock. However, the 9-clawed golden dragon completely ignored them and pulled with its 2 claws. Rip! That upper void stage expert was torn in half by the 9-clawed golden dragon. Boom! Blood and organs flew everywhere. The experts who were sprinting all stopped in their tracks in horror. 5 middle void stage martial artists were killed by the stars, and 1 upper void stage martial artist was torn apart on the spot. They had only met once. It had only been a single exchange. Needless to say, Kong Mok and the others opened their mouths in shock. Even Bai Ditian looked at this scene with his mouth agape. This didn't make sense? The 9-clawed golden dragon had just advanced to Imperial Dynasty, and it was already so powerful? Although that upper void stage expert was only at the 2nd level, he was still at the upper void stage. He was torn in half without any resistance? How powerful was the 9-clawed golden dragon? Throwing away the torn corpse, the 9-clawed golden dragon landed on the Sea of Providence again. Boom! The Sea of Providence churned. The dragon aura stars continued to revolve around the 9-clawed golden dragon. The 9-clawed golden dragon looked at Kong Mok from afar. Kong Mok? Do you want to come again? The 9-clawed golden dragon said coldly. In just one exchange, another upper void stage expert and 5 middle void stage experts died? Kong Mok's heart was bleeding. He had brought 22 upper void stage experts to the East Divine Continent. Were they all here to die? Yen Chuan, where are the Origin Path Buddha and the Relic Buddha? Kong Mok seemed to have realized something and asked. Dead, the 9-clawed golden dragon said in a low voice. Kong Mok's face darkened. Your Majesty? The group of upper void stage experts looked at Kong Mok. Kong Mok was in a bad mood, and the group of upper void stage experts were even more terrified. After Jing Ting ascended, the original 22 upper void stage experts could be said to be invincible. But now they were dying one after another. This was too fast. From the Dazhao sacred ground to here there were only 13 left? How could this be? Yanchuan, I will be back. I will tear you into pieces. Kong Mok said coldly. I will wait for you in Yanjing, the nine-clawed golden dragon said coldly. Let's go. Kong Mok shouted. Riding on their dragon horses, the group of people rode towards the west. It was not that Yanchuan did not want to kill, but the nine-clawed golden dragon had its own restrictions and could not stop the group from leaving. Standing on the Sea of Providence, the nine-clawed golden dragon watched as Kong Mok left. Then it sat up again and closed its eyes to cultivate. In the training room, Yanchuan suddenly opened his eyes, got up and walked out of the main hall. Along the way, Kong Mok and his subordinates were all silent. The atmosphere was extremely heavy. The East Divine Continent was unfavorable. The journey here was not smooth sailing. Roar! Kong Mok roared angrily. Your Majesty, are we going back now? An upper void stage expert asked. No, I want to kill. Kong Mok said through gritted teeth. Kill? Go to the Julu Academy. Even if I can't get the providence of the Dajian Empire, I want to get the providence of the Julu Academy. Kong Mok said coldly. Yes. The group of people rode on their horses to the Julu Academy to welcome the last disaster of the East Divine Continent. Chapter 937. Dazhao Holy Land, Dazhao Mountain. The original Wu clan hall had been changed to Dazhao Palace. Within the Dazhao Palace, Mohina Dojin's face darkened as he smashed a tea table with his palm. The 6 middle void stage cultivators and Yang Zigu's faces were extremely ugly. Father, during your battle with Kong Mok and the others, 2 of the 4 vassal sects of Dazhao were exterminated while the other 2 sects mostly surrendered to the Great Jin Empire. Yang Zigu shouted. Bastards, we should have taken back their merits long ago. Mohina Dojin said with a gloomy face. Thanks to Moyushi's help in the past, a large number of Great Jin's men were placed in the southeast of Dazhao Holy Land. At this moment, 350 cities of Dazhao Holy Land have fallen into the hands of Great Jin. Taking a deep breath, Mohina Dojin said coldly, Yanchuan? I really underestimated him back then. Master, our Great Zhao sacred land currently has 650 cities. Although the Great Jin dynasty destroyed our vassal sects, they only took the cities of the Fengyang sect. If our sect takes the cities of the other 4 vassal sects, and if we include the other middle-level sects that are fighting over them, our Great Zhao sacred land will be able to reach 1,000 cities. A middle void realm cultivator said. 1,000 cities? Mohina Dojin took a deep breath and nodded. Father, should we kill Yanchuan? Yang Zigu said with a gloomy face. The middle void stage cultivator immediately said, Young master, we just received news that Kong Mok brought the remaining people to Yanchuan. 5 middle void stage cultivators and 1 upper void stage cultivator died on the spot. According to the conversation between Yanchuan and Kong Mok, the primordial path Buddha and relic Buddha also died at the hands of Yanchuan. What? Impossible. Yang Zigu exclaimed. The middle void stage cultivator shook his head to express his confirmation. Mohina Dojin's face darkened. He then shook his head and said, Forget it, the Great Zhao Holy Land's mid-level strength is empty. Let's stabilize these 1,000 cities first. Yes. Everyone nodded. Pick some lower void realm disciples who are absolutely loyal to the Great Zhao Holy Land. This sovereign will use the 10,000 wonders bewitching lotus to quickly raise their cultivation and stabilize the Great Zhao Holy Land. Mohina Dojin said solemnly. Yes. Everyone immediately responded. Great Jin Empire, Yen Capital, Chaotian Palace. Huaguang, Jindayu and Meng Wenrua had all returned. Ranking in the court. Yifeng stepped forward. Congratulations, Your Majesty. My Great Jin Imperial Dynasty now controls 1,100 cities in the East Divine Continent. We are number 1 in the East Divine Continent. Yifeng smiled. Congratulations, Your Majesty. The officials all bowed respectfully, expressing their excitement at this moment. 1,100? How many years has it been since Dezhun was established? Wasn't it developing too quickly? Similarly, the officials of Dezhun were also incomparably excited. The more powerful Dezhun was, the more benefits they would receive. I suggest that the Great Jin Imperial Dynasty stop expanding its territory and focus on stabilizing the Great Jin Empire's territory. Yifeng shouted. I concur. Meng Wenhua also shouted. I concur. The officials immediately said. Proof. On the dragon throne, Yan Xuan nodded. Yifeng stepped forward. Lu Gang stepped forward. Reporting to Your Majesty, the East Factory Guard of the Julu Academy has reported. Kong Mok has brought a group of thieves to Julu Academy and is preparing to massacre the Julu Academy. They want to steal the fortune of the Julu Academy, Lu Gang said respectfully. Meng Wenhua's expression changed. Although she wasn't at the Julu Academy, she was still somewhat worried. Chapter 938. It's a pity that he was defeated at the Julu Academy again. Lu Gang reported. Oh. Yan Xuan was curious. A person called Meng Lingtian appeared at the Julu Academy this time. When Kong Mok gave the order to massacre the city, Meng Lingtian attacked and killed 2 Upper Void Realm cultivators and 10 Middle Void Realm cultivators with a single palm. In the end, they let Kong Mok go because of the Kong family. Lu Gang reported excitedly. The officials sighed. Kong Mok was so unlucky. 11 Upper Void Realm cultivators had died in the East Divine Continent? How big of a blow was that? Meng Lingtian? Meng Wenhua exclaimed. Wenhua, you know Meng Lingtian? Yan Xuan looked at Meng Wenhua. Meng Wenhua stepped forward blankly. Yes, Meng Lingtian is my great-grandfather. Your Majesty has been to the Julu Academy and knows that Goddess Ji Qin is in the 100 Saints Righteousness Altar. There are hundreds of immortal statues in the Julu Academy. Meng Lingtian is only one of them. I know that there is a world of light in the 100 Saints Righteousness Altar. It seems that Meng Lingtian lives in the world of light. This place suppresses immortals. Meng Lingtian was able to attack safely. It seems that the laws of heaven and earth changed after Jingting removed the heaven seal. Yan Xuan said seriously. Immortal? The officials sucked in a breath of cold air. There were immortals in the Julu Academy? World of light? Meng Wenhua frowned. There are hundreds of immortal statues in the 100 Saints Righteousness Altar? I didn't pay attention. Now that Meng Lingtian is one of the immortals, there should be more than one immortal in the world of light, right? Yan Xuan analyzed as he tapped his dragon throne. More than one immortal? The officials' expressions turned ugly. I'm not sure. Among the 100 immortals, more than half of them have been recorded as having ascended. Some of them, such as my great-grandfather, may have ascended outside the Julu Academy. Some of them may still be living in the world of light. I'm not sure. Meng Wenhua shook his head. Since there are immortals in the Julu Academy, it's possible that there are immortals in the various sects with long histories in the world. Meng Wenhua, I want you to count all the sects and families that have existed for more than 10,000 years. Yan Xuan ordered. Yes, Your Majesty. Meng Wenhua answered. After the court meeting, some of the important officials of Great Zhen did not leave. Instead, they went to the upper study room for Yan Xuan to meet them. In the upper study, Yan Xuan faced Meng Wenhua. Your Majesty, I dare not. This burden is too heavy. Meng Wenhua smiled bitterly. Is it heavy? Didn't Yifeng do very well in the past? Yan Xuan smiled. But Meng Wenhua was still worried. Immortals have appeared? Great changes have happened in this world. I must quickly prepare all the countermeasures. Meng Wenhua, in the future there will be more than 1,000 cities in Great Zhen. In the future there will be 10,000 cities, 100,000 cities or even more. Dealing with the current cities is the most basic. I allow you to transfer civil officials from the Julu Academy. As for how to subdue the generals, Meng Wenhua, I'll give you the title of Commander of the 4th Corps. I hope you won't bury this title. Yan Xuan said solemnly. Yes. I will definitely protect Great Zhen for Your Majesty. Meng Wenhua said affirmatively. Good. Go. Yan Xuan nodded. Meng Wenhua left and Lu Gang entered the upper study room. After Yan Xuan gave him some instructions, Lu Gang's expression changed. Lu Gang's expression changed as he immediately understood Yan Xuan's plan. Your Majesty, please rest assured. If Meng Wenhua is in charge, my East Depot guards will definitely be hidden everywhere. There won't be any slip-ups. The East Depot will definitely monitor the world for Your Majesty. Lu Gang said solemnly. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.